1, action.
Action. All right. Action Jackson?
Action Jackson.
Do you remember Action Jackson?
I do.
Did
Carl
you like
Weathers.
it? Yes. You gotta do the fucking muscle thing that he did, with Schwarzenegger, where they're like, "You son of a bitch, Dylan."
I didn't remember the names, but I do remember Action Jackson.
I loved Action Jackson. Did you know that Coach was in that as the villain?
Coach.
What's his name? Craig T. Nelson? Coach was
the...
I want to say Coach was the villain in that movie who was like beating up the prostitutes and stuff.
Weird.
I know, right? Yeah.
This is the pre-show.
Yeah, this is the stuff that
AEW calls it the buy-in.
Yeah. This is the stuff that gets cut, right? Yeah. That was loud.
That was.
So tell me, Joseph, how was round 2 of Vacation that, most normal, hardworking Americans only get once every 10 years, and you got to do in a month?
I will tell you that Disneyland was Star Wars Land, and Disneyland, they knew what they were doing. They put their heart into it. And Rise of the Resistance was the most amazing ride I've ever done in my life, and I highly recommend to everybody. What do I do with my phone? Well, I'm going to go grab my phone, and then we'll start the show.
Are you bringing me back my present from Disneyland?
I did not get you anything from Disneyland.
This is what I deal with. The afterthought. The afterbirth.
Here it is in my pocket.
Oh, it's in his pocket. Awesome. It's like your sunglasses on your head. Where are they at?
But no, Vacation was a lot of fun. Thank you.
That's good. I'm glad, man. I'm glad, yeah.
Because Joey likes to change things every time we do a show, and as he likes to point out, we are going to start doing our shows 1 hour earlier, at the 5 o'clock hour.
1 hour earlier, which is good. I'm okay with this. I get up very early for work, as I am sure you do too.
And it's darker earlier now, and
yes. Eventually, there probably will come times where we just will not have shows because I'm not going to make it up Joey's hill because of the weather.
Right. And then I'll either do the show alone, or we'll try to do the whole from your house, my house talk thing.
Yeah, we can do that.
We did that once a long time ago.
We did for Brody's death. Yeah, we ended up having to do that because I had a migraine that day. And, we could have done it the last time that you went on vacation, but I don't have a camera in my phone, and all of the phones or tablets in the house were currently being occupied by other people, so I did not have one. Maybe for Black Friday we will purchase an additional tablet.
It is 5 o'clock. You know what that means. It is time to start Powerbomb Weekly.
It is Miller time.
Welcome to the
Bud Light.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Yes, he's drinking his extremely skunky Bud Light that my mother left here back in May.
Yeah, no, really it's just to keep my palate wet because, I run my mouth so much, I get a little cotton mouth at the end of it, and I forgot my lozenges.
Lozenges?
Yes, the lozenges. I prefer the Ricola. I've got these nice ones that are like honey and something else right now. Those are really good. I like those.
I like the Halls, the red ones. Red Death.
I don't like Halls as much. That's like what did Anthony like? The Ludwigs or whatever they were. That was basically just sugar candy. I like something that actually throats the coat.
Coats the throat.
Yeah, because you're getting throat coated.
Anyway.
Is that people? Do we have people watching? Which one is it?
Do. My sister's watching again. Hi, sis.
Hello. How are you?
Well, we're going to officially start the show then.
Guess what? We have a new format, too. We're officially using the new format that we said we were going to do on the last show for the format change, and now we're actually officially officiating the format.
We've officially adopted the old
format.
We don't need to bring the Lord's Son into this, sis.
Jesus. Is that Jesus for us or like Jesus in general?
This is not another new format. This is the same format. It's the format we decided on last time, 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
But now it is time for the announcement.
Another new format.
It's not another new format.
So far, you have not been formatted out of the show, but you were replaced by Rob Van Dam. You can check that clip out on our YouTube coming up here soon, where we get endorsed by the whole effing show.
Yeah, I will eventually put everything back on YouTube, especially since we've had all that coverage.
Yeah, our buddy at Kayfabe, House of Kayfabe, Mr. Brian Resner, landed Mr. Jim Cornette. You can go right now on their page on multiple platforms.
In 2 hours from now, after we're done with our show.
Yes, after you're done with our show, you can go watch their show and listen to our good friend Brian talk to the man, the myth, the legend, Jim Cornette. But we got Rob Van Dam for 30 seconds for free.
And it was the weekend before he got married, because he got married last weekend.
Oh, congratulations.
To the stripper girl with the big butt that he twerks on, that was twerking with him, got him kicked off of Impact.
I mean, if you're gonna put a ring on it, you might as well like it, right?
Let's start with everyone's favorite voice of Powerbomb Weekly.
The throat lasagna.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of Powerbomb Weekly. You'll notice we're now starting an hour earlier because Joey and his old man body need the extra beauty sleep.
Actually, it's
on this week's show, we'll talk about the mass firings at WWE and give the newest reasons why we believe many of those wrestlers were let go.
You get a pink slip.
Where have your favorites ended up? Also, we'll preview AEW's Full Gear. We'll also take a look at the anniversary of the passing of the great Eddie Guerrero. And Jon Moxley off to rehab. What is the mental state of professional wrestlers today? But now, we introduce you to our hosts. This man served as the inspiration for Shawn Michaels and his sexy boy character. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Michael Burdett.
It is.
Always is.
And his co-host. This man served as an inspiration for Hillbilly Jim. This is Joey Marcel.
That is, it is knee slap.
Remember, fans, tonight's show brought to you in part by Kitsap Great Escape, the only escape room in Kitsap County. And now, on with the show.
Yeah, I like how Kevin thought he was insulting me, like referring to me as Hillbilly Jim. Hillbilly Jim was an amazing person. Not exactly the greatest wrestler, but he was a great person.
No, he was a good big man, and he's typically talked about as one of the better big men in a business of big men, right?
So,
thank you for that wonderful introduction, Kevin. I greatly appreciate it. Much like Sean, I am also losing the top of my hairline and have tried shaving it and also determined that that was not a good look. So I just decided to do what is the reverse comb over, which is to grow my hair long enough to tie it back as opposed to putting it to the side.
Yeah, and the reason that we don't get to see Kevin's beautiful face with this
I was sad, man.
is because it's Movember and he's not shaving and he doesn't think his beard is up to snuff enough.
Oh, you got a little bit of the peach fuzz going on? You look like you did in, was it 12th grade or something, where you were trying to impress the ladies and you just had like the little bit of the stubble stash?
No, it just looks like he's been on a 5-day bender and
even better.
His beard is
What's up, Perry? Congratulations on your game for going 24th, 36th. I don't know. We couldn't really figure out the rankings for it. Love the LED lights in your model kit, by the way, bud.
Yeah, so Kevin just looks haggard.
We all do.
we all do. So, again, welcome to Powerbomb Weekly officially. 1 hour earlier on our new time slot. This is going to work out for everybody. And let's go ahead and, as always, copyright disclaimer. We do this for the education. We do this for entertainment. If you want to Venmo us, just let us know. We'll set you up with a link.
I have Cash App. I have Venmo. I have PayPal. I have not gotten anything from any one of you people in the year that we have been doing this, and I'm starting to think that we are going to have to steal money from Vince. But he, even though he is setting record profits...
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about all that.
Okay.
We're going to talk about all these firings and record profits and how that all works out. It was a good week for memes. Again, Seth Rollins never disappoints.
Yes.
So, apparently he's now Paddington Bear.
I thought this was great, and people are just trashing his stuff. And, okay, so...
and I do like the reversal that somebody...
This is good. I am kind of sad at the fact that they're both evil, and they're, aside from the backstage stuff, they're not really referenced on television as a couple together who share a child.
That did not work.
No, it did not. But I mean, I guess I just want to jump right into this and just go for it.
You want to talk about the disco balls?
I thought it looked great. I mean, his balls are definitely discoing.
No, I was...
Fuck Vince Russo.
Whoa, dude!
Okay. So, yeah, we're firing off already. We're going to go in blazing hot on this, right? What are you just going to TikTok it up?
No, I'm trying to turn my phone
Happy
down.
Time or whatever that was? There were puppets on his phone. You're a grown-ass man. Puppets.
It was a TikTok.
Oh, what are you? You were at the Firefly Funhouse or something? That was not at AEW this week, even though apparently he was caught in an airport. I'm currently listening to you on my 3-hour drive home. Well, hopefully we'll keep you entertained for at least the next 2 of it.
Of those 3 hours.
Of those 3 hours. So yeah, anyway, back to my F Vince Russo thing. The reason I say that is because a couple shows back...
Out of left field.
A couple shows back, though, you remember I said I had read this article a few months back when Seth came out.
Oh, yeah.
That said...
The whole Joker thing.
They think that Seth is trying to be the Joker of WWE. And I said, hey, I referenced that article. I believe Cage Side might have been the one who did it, or maybe CBR did it. But I was like, you know what? I'm kind of getting that. That makes sense to me. The costumes, the maniacal laugh, the behavior, the fact that he slowly had this descent to madness, I get it, right?
Yeah.
And I've also made my parallel references associating to the fact of this is the step of the new character. Because I was like, what is the vision?
Right.
Like, oh, he doesn't have one. He's just insane, right?
Well, he was the Messiah, then he had a vision, and now he's just crazy.
Yes, which has been the multiple character swaps for it, of he's just going crazy, right? And then Vince Russo comes out and steals that person's article, but uses my words of describing that person's article as his own verbal diarrhea, that he's the one saying that Seth Rollins is the Joker. So, Mr. Vince Russo, burn in hell. Because
this is the same Vince Russo.
Are stealing our stuff that I stole from somebody else and claiming it as your own. No, sir. Not on my watch.
But then this is the same Vince Russo who said that Vince McMahon and I are on friendly terms and we're bros, and then Vince McMahon's like, I want nothing to do with Vince Russo.
So a week later, he's like, Tony Khan, hire me. I'll cut a promo on Vince Russo. And Tony Khan went, yeah, not gonna happen. And then Vince Russo decided to go, well, F you, Tony Khan.
I'm out of wrestling.
I quit wrestling anyway. You couldn't get me to come back even if you paid me all the money that your daddy has. Love this meme, by the way, and I love this outfit. And seeing this outfit also solidifies, for my mind, the Joker thing, because what happened when he came out in the trench coat and the outfit? He was dancing around like Joaquin on the steps of the Joker movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch Joker. You'll understand what we're talking about.
Not that great of a movie, but you'll understand it.
He is wrong. Joker is a great movie. Anyway. However, though, if you have seen the movie Taxi Driver, you have seen the movie Joker.
And so should Becky be doing the same kind of gimmick though?
Well, Becky's not crazy.
But she's doing the loud, weird outfits.
No, I mean she's doing the outfits, but that's
Look at her hair. She's got like
Becky. But Becky's always had the loud outfit. She was steampunk Becky. She was Bruce Lee Becky. The only time she was in like normal stuff was during the one where she got her nose broken as the man. Yeah. So it's like, she's always had these kind of outlandish costumes for it, too. And no, I don't think that's an issue, and I don't think she's meant to be crazy. I think she's meant to be conceited. She's almost doing...
Charlotte?
Where she would... No, I would say...
Like Charlotte.
Everyone had compared her to Austin. She's basically doing Rock now.
Yeah.
Of saying, I'm the reason you're here for the show. I'm the champion. I'm the one who put all the butts in the seat. Why am I being talked about like it's already... My title's already being given to somebody else.
Right. You know? So I did not do this, but there were quite a few pictures on the internet of Becky bent over, and you could see that the top was a little too big.
Why did you not add these in and just reference these now? Because I think that's what the viewers would want to see. Is
it's a family show.
Keep it all in the family.
Yeah,
right?
there was a really funny meme about Becky's OnlyFans page because of her top.
A few other people have gotten them. What's her name? Lisa Green or whatever her name is. Finally,
Chelsea Green.
Chelsea Green got her OnlyFans approved. I don't know if she's doing adult content because you just associate OnlyFans with adult content, even though they tried to throw all that out and went, "Oh my God, we're going to lose so much money."
So Chelsea Green, for those that don't know, is the...
What did you do?
Don't worry about
what did you do? Are we even there anymore?
Yeah, we're still there.
Are the people able to see us?
The people are able...
You're messing with the computer stuff, and you know I don't understand that shit.
Chelsea Green is doing the...
Are we going to her OnlyFans page?
Oh, we're not going to her OnlyFans
page. Do you not have the OnlyFans? I have the OnlyFans.
I do not have OnlyFans.
I am only some people's fans. Usually they're my friends, but yeah.
I was going to go to the time clock, actually.
Oh, okay. You're going to set up the clock. All right, good.
But, since, you want to just throw me out like that, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay. Yeah,
she is the wife of hardcore legend Matt Cardona.
Oh, I am aware of who she is, yes. Well, I am very well aware, but I don't know what her content is that she is providing to her OnlyFans, nor do I know her subscription costs or anything like that. I assume it's probably high. Most people usually do about $10 or so a month. People who think that they're hot shit usually have 25 or plus. Bella Thorne can burn in hell.
So what, then
with Vince Russo.
So what would, what's her name? What's Sunny's cost then?
Probably like a bag of meth. I would imagine is what Sunny costs.
Or does she pay people to look at her content?
I imagine so. If anyone has ever seen, or I don't recommend watching the adult video that Sunny did.
We're moving
in the great clip from Bruce Pritchard. She pooted.
We have two kind of memes here. One is I really thought of Mike because Mike was putting a lot of self-loathing stuff on Facebook.
Because I hate my life and I want to die, right?
So here, I hate myself. Don't worry, I've got it for you. Well, now I hate this more.
What does it say? It's 2027.
Okay, I was going to read that. It's 2020.
Are you going to read it or do you want me to read it?
I'll read this.
Okay.
It's 2027. The WWE's entire full-time roster is Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, Dominic Mysterio, and Goldberg. The two women are the only wrestlers on SmackDown, now a 4-hour show. They wrestle 6 matches against each other a night, trading all 17 women's division titles back and forth. Raw is the men's show. 3 hours of Reigns, Orton, and Goldberg beating the S out of Mysterio. Every 4 months, Brock Lesnar returns, wins the title to whoever has it, and then loses it a week later. NXT exists. It showcases up-and-coming talent with actual in-ring skills who get over organically, easily outstripping the main show stars in popularity. Every month, the most popular NXT star is brought up to the main show. After a week of hype, they debut. At that time, Vince McMahon appears and personally shoots them in the head and has the remains fed to Reigns. This show sells out every week.
Yeah.
That's where we're going.
We're there 6 years in the past in this future timeline that they have.
I like the Vince McMahon personally appears and shoots them in the head.
Yeah, no, that's pretty accurate for it. And then he fires them 2 weeks later for budgetary reasons. That's
we're
gonna go that thing.
So during the second hour of our show, we're gonna have a very deep dive. We're gonna share some theories. We're gonna get all into that.
The only thing that is good about this is that yes, everyone should be fed to the head of the table.
All right, and then for you Warhammer fans, I did not know Cesaro and
Barry, I'm looking at you.
I did not know that Shayna Baszler was a big Warhammer fan, but that's a big ass axe she's got in her hand. And
that's a Warhammer.
A Warhammer.
That's actually, I believe that's a Sigmar hammer that they have for them, and Claudio there is carrying a chainsword.
Yeah, I recognize
Yes,
that.
this was actually at Warhammer in the UK. That's awesome that they went to Citadel and did this. I mean, that's super cool for it.
There were a lot of good pictures. I thought this was kind of the best one. It really showcased them.
Shayna Baszler looks like my aunt that got out of prison, at one point in her life and just is not...
She really needs some eyebrows.
I don't know why she shaves them. If anything, do like what a lot of the Asian women do and get them tattooed on, And
then Corey Graves, I kind of want to wrestle again. Do you think there's a chance that he could get back in the ring?
They let Bryan Danielson wrestle again after he had his, his brains rewired.
You got Edge, who came back.
Well, Edge had a neck separation vertebrae issue
Wasn't
for
that-
it, but Corey Graves...
I thought it was a neck thing.
No, Graves, because he had like 14 concussions in 2 months or something like that, they cut him because of that reason.
I remember seeing the special. I just couldn't remember the
Yeah,
reason.
so the special was that he got his brains... knocked out of his head so many times that they were like, "Yep, nope, we like you, we want to keep you, we're going to make you a commentator, and we're going to do something with you."
Right. So, some fun stuff in the week. Got to always start on a positive. So, Eddie Guerrero, yesterday is
Starting on a positive.
Yeah, we started on a positive. Now we're going to go, Eddie Guerrero, 2005, yesterday, so 16 years ago yesterday, he passed away of heart failure. I'm going to go with what I know and remember, and because I did read the book.
Okay.
Which the book was actually kind of a tearjerker when you get towards the end. And then I watched some of his show. Real quick before we go any further, I think it's interesting that we have the family picture up here and Dominic's not in it.
That's because
that's funny.
Yeah. All
right.
Yeah.
So like many wrestlers in the 2000s, and the late 90s, there was a lot of drugs. There was a lot of cocaine. And apparently, if you do enough cocaine, you can wrestle really well because you don't ever sleep. I've not partaken in cocaine anywhere in time in my life, nor any illegal drug, but I've read the stories.
And in the classic, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Right. And then his Vicky was about to leave him. His daughters didn't want anything to do with him anymore. He completely turned his life 180 the wrong way. And then Shawn Michaels and Sting, because of Sting, Shawn Michaels got on board, and because of Shawn Michaels, Sting, Eddie Guerrero on board. So Sting is a born-again Christian. He deeply believes in his faith. He even did a for cable movie about his faith.
It's awful.
I have it on VHS in the other
It's
room.
awful.
It's not great. I am a person of faith, and I can tell you it's still not good.
I am not, and it's still not good even to laugh at from that point.
And so Eddie turned his life to God, got clean, rebuilt his family, rebuilt his children, and life was on the up and up. And then 2 months later, died of a massive heart attack because his body was still 2 years earlier in all of the effects of the drugs. So he got the chance to fix all of his problems with his family and his friends, but he didn't get to live out his life after he had fixed it.
So is that the accurate timeline of his demise? I know that sounds like such a, like he, killed the king or something, but like, of the timeline of his demise, because Eddie had been having addiction troubles for 20 years at this point. So, I mean, and also Eddie did steroids. Right. That's not unknown.
Right. People, no, it's, and we're going to talk about the steroid trial later on tonight.
So when you're doing a lot of stuff and you're drinking and you're doing a lot of drugs and you're taking steroids and you're in a physical, business for many, many years where you're not sleeping and you're traveling and you're probably not eating the best, either fast food to get you through or just not eating or only eating protein supplemental stuff. That's pretty bad. That puts a lot of stress on you. But is that the timeline of where they're going with is, he had a relapse, had some issues and had whatever, and then made his choice to do the turnaround and didn't.
I'm sorry. I was wrong. I apologize. He was clean for 4 years.
Okay, that's what I thought. He'd been clean for a lot longer.
I read this book about 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So I apologize. I thought it was a shorter time frame. I went to the Google machine and thank you for calling me out.
Yes.
So he was clean for 4 years.
Okay. I didn't know if they'd done like a special or something where they re-updated a new relapse or something like that, or a new conversation or something. I didn't know how far that went. The thing about this that, I kind of want to throw out, I don't know, it seems callous in a way, but I have a hard time mourning drug addicts.
No, I understand that.
I really do. And I'm not trying. One, we probably should have a vertical or something up here. If you're having addiction or you're having problems or you know anyone that's suffering from it, please contact a help center and things like that. Try and get help. There is help out there for people doing that. Eddie found help through his peers. Your peers might be the problem, so you might have to seek outside help somewhere in order to...
Which is what he did.
Yes.
He found better peers.
Yes, you will have to find something somewhere that can help you get it through, because I do believe that you cannot... While there are people who can do it solo, I think
you need somebody.
Helping hands is good to get you through it,
Absolutely.
The problem that I have with that, though, is just like... and it's a problem with the more modern day conversation that we're having, and to a point, obviously not liking them in the same vein. It's almost like Warrior in a way. It's like, where is the line of what your professional attributes that you do define your legacy, but your personal can either be forgotten about or the thing that destroys all of your achievements in another area.
Okay, well,
so I know this is a bit of a deeper conversation.
No, it's fine. We gave some good time for this.
But that's the question I have when it comes to Guerrero and a couple of the other people that do it, where it's just like, how is it you can say, how do we define someone who has a legendary career and is a legendary performer and is able to do these amazing things, but also had, TM here, the dark side of the ring going on?
Well, so I feel personally it's what you decide you're going to remember. So let's step away from wrestling for a second. I know this is a wrestling show, but let's step away from wrestling for a second. So John Belushi and John Belushi, an amazing comedian. Yeah. Died a drug addict.
Yes.
So is he known as the drug addict or is he known as the amazing comedian?
It depends. He's known as the amazing comedian that died of being a drug addict,
right.
I guess, yes.
So you have, you listen to a lot of heavy metal.
No.
A good number of those members have died of drug overdoses. It happens in hip-hop and everything like that. I'm not just singling out drug.
Yeah. It's easy to say, the hip-hop guys get shot and the rocker guys all die of ODs or something like that. I get that it's a general blanket for it. I guess, in a way, I'm trying... I know we're way, way in the weeds here, but
I don't think so.
I think a little bit of it is coming from, like... I recently posted this on my own page, and I've had this wrestle with it of, like, Led Zeppelin, right? Mm-hmm. Jimmy Page is a child molester, and they recently published a book of stuff
I did not know that. I did not know
doing horrible things to groupies and all this other stuff, but it's like, but it's Led Zeppelin. They're the most celebrated band in all of rock and roll and all this stuff. Be like, yeah, but they're shitbags.
Right.
Realistically, they are. Well, but why is it that certain people get elevated, especially in wrestling, and especially right now with WWE, because they love to put up their Eddie videos.
Yeah,
every week there's an Eddie video.
Every company is doing that right now. I'm not being general. You can watch wrestling if you watch as much wrestling as we do. Every single Latino wrestler does this. They point to the sky.
Everybody's talking about Eddie for it.
Whether it be Sasha Banks, whether it be the Lucha Bros, whether it be...
Chris Jericho just did it at Full Gear.
And so did the Lucha Bros. It's
Eddie Guerrero's name is synonymous with wrestling and will live on through wrestling because of his legacy. But the question of... I guess what I'm getting at is that where is the cautionary tale lie of... Because, without going too much of tarnishing the legacy, Vicky has talked about his infidelity. She's talked about other abuses. She's talked about a bunch of things that have affected them that changed his life, and I guess the other part of that I'm trying to cycle to is we do have a success story at the end of this.
I think that's why he's celebrated.
So do you think that's why is because he was able to work his way through it?
He worked so many in that time, 2005.
Yeah.
And let's say between 2000 and 2005, did it not feel like every year at least 3 to 5 wrestlers died of complications due to drugs.
Oh yeah, this is when they were hitting.
Hawk was dying.
Yeah.
Everybody was dying. But Eddie was one of the few that turned his life around and got more successful sober than he was getting. Because, I mean, you're always going to be more successful sober.
Probably, yes.
You know,
I don't know. I also like that. I've never done heroin, but it's not hurt my record collection.
Like, I don't think that Jeff Hardy will ever be celebrated the way that Eddie Guerrero.
I don't know. They've done a really good job of erasing his federal indictment.
But they're not celebrating him.
Well, he's not dead yet either.
This is true.
And the WWE can only mourn X amount of people as celebrated people.
And I think that the other thing is that Eddie Guerrero, 4 years sober, 4 years to turn his life around, did amazing things, and then just died.
Yes.
Because of complications. And
yeah.
And it shows because whether you like or hate or feel indifferent about Vince McMahon, he took care of that family for many, many years.
He did.
And she chose, amicably apparently, to go to AEW and get a better deal because she was on the Legends contract, which apparently if you can get on a WWE Legends contract, it's awesome.
Yeah.
You get paid to do a lot of money to just do a few things.
Yes.
You have very little commitment. But she wanted to be more active. Her daughter was wrestling in Shimmer and in a couple of things. And she wanted to see her daughters grow because maybe she had a crystal ball and saw that what was going to happen to NXT and didn't want her in there.
Possibly. There is a good point in that. I mean,
So I personally believe that Eddie Guerrero is celebrated the way he is now because he is a redemption story that worked out and had a tragic end because everyone loves a tragedy.
Yes.
That no matter how well he got and no matter what he did, he just could not outrun the Reaper.
Yes. And I guess I see your point in that of why he is such a celebrated figure. Because the other thing with it, too, that we can go back on is he had a lot of friends.
Yeah.
And he knew a lot of people. And a lot of people respected Guerrero and his work.
And he comes from a very important family.
And he comes from a very important family. But if you look at the mountaintop, and this is something, too, that maybe we can talk about that we'll transition in. Eddie is never on the Mount Rushmore discussion that I've seen.
No.
But he's always referred to as one of the greatest. I mean, not just Latino talent, Latino heat, baby, but he's always referred to as one of the best in-ring performers. And that list seems to keep getting longer as obviously time goes on, which it naturally should.
Right.
But for the modern wrestling fan, anybody who's watched wrestling in the last 25 years and remembers it, they're going to say Hogan, and they're going to say Flair, and then they're probably going to say Rock and Austin. But somewhere in there, somebody's going to pull out Eddie Guerrero.
Well, Eddie Guerrero was one of the kings of the mid-card.
Yeah. And but he also showed, and maybe unfortunately it was Vince looking around the locker room and going, shit, I ain't got nobody. But he's also the little engine that could. Because Eddie, despite his physique here for what he made himself into, at WWE, I might add, which maybe, had a little bit of balloon inflation there for the position that he needed to be in.
You want to see his really good stuff, go to WCW, but yeah.
But Eddie is not 6'5".
No.
I'm going to say it. Eddie's not white, even though he is a white Latino. He was older when he got big and popular for it in the WWE. He wasn't an original WWE creation.
Nope.
Despite the Guerrero family, he wasn't Eddie, Tequila or whatever.
Eddie Tequila. They probably would have called him that.
They probably would have or something,
I mean, just remember what they did to his cousin.
All of the
his nephew.
Yeah, everything they did to Chavo. But I'm saying all of the things that the WWE strips from people when they get behind a guy, they didn't take away from him.
No.
And all of those attributes that we've highlighted made him an incredibly unique wrestler to where he is always talked about as an in-ring performer, one of the greatest to put on a pair of boots.
So, what is your favorite Eddie phase?
My favorite Eddie phase.
Because Eddie, there was a lot of different stories or phases, if you will, or seasons.
I mean, I really do like the back in the early 90s, the 7.5-foot mullet phase that he had. That was always good. I mean, realistically, I think when he channeled Flair and became Latino Heat and, cheat to win, and, people have talked about it, but this was always one of my favorite things. Hits himself, hits the chair somewhere, and then
it's on the ground.
And the ref turns around. What the hell happened? We're like, hey, you hit him with the chair. You're out of here. That is comedy in wrestling, but it's genius. It's heelish. Right. It's smarkish. I loved when he started channeling that version of himself. I would say that would be probably my favorite version of him.
My favorite version of him was with China. All the stuff with China.
Oh, Eddie liked it. Yeah, I really did.
Just trying so hard to get her, and that he did.
Yes, and then he was like, "Oh, I don't know if buyer's remorse a little bit." I mean, so with that, you're in a bit of a lull period back and forth, but off the top of your head, best match.
His WrestleMania win.
You think the WrestleMania win's the best one?
Yeah.
I really like the lost gem of the sold out ladder match with Six or X-Pac in the WCW one. I thought that was really good. And the other one is actually one that they put up recently, I think, on the WWE page, which was the JBL match. Is it JBL?
Oh,
the one where he cut himself and he nicked the arteries in the top of his forehead and just bled the. He basically outbeat the Muda scale at that point. It should probably be called the Guerrero scale after that. But even with the blood in that, he still went 15 minutes after he was basically bleeding out all over the mat. Mm-hmm. I love that match. I don't remember that.
I'm not sure that I saw that match, but I've
seen the pictures.
Yeah, I've seen.
Well, when he bladed, instead of nicking the forehead, he went end over end basically, and there's
trying to scalp himself.
There's two vein issues that run in the top of your head. They're not like fatal veins, he was bleeding a lot, but that's what happened is he raked the razor across when he hit him with the chair, and he split both of those wide open and was just spraying. John Cena did the same thing when he got hit with the chair, and he cut the top of it, and he cut through 1.5 of them and just bled all over the place.
All right, so a very important question off topic.
Okay.
You went to high school in West Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Because I went to high school in Nebraska. This conversation came up at Disneyland, and came up. It's gonna make sense. Since we
are at multiple points in the world right now.
We're talking about blood.
Okay, blood.
What color is blood inside your body?
Blue.
No, it is not. It is red. We were lied to.
What?
Google it. Blood.
It's red when it oxidizes when it hits the air.
That's what I said too, and my wife's like, maybe I was asleep that day in medical school.
Wait a minute, what fucking Hadron Collider?
Yeah, no, apparently
thing are we living in?
Maybe, but yeah, every friend I know who lived in the Midwest we all thought it was blue, but it is. Yeah, what color is blood inside your body?
All right, now it's red.
Yeah.
Why do people think human blood is sometimes blue? Let's see. Just pantomime.
Yeah, because it's blue in your veins.
Octopuses and horseshoe crabs have blue blood.
Right.
Because the protein transporting oxygen in their blood, the hemocene, is actually blue. The blood of a Vulcan. What is a Vulcan?
Spock was a Vulcan. Yeah, that's a Vulcan.
What?
All right, so, yeah.
Oh no! It actually is a Vulcan. This medical journal referenced a fictitious character.
So now we're going to go to a story that Mike broke on Facebook. All right.
Our arteries are actually rich with oxygen throughout the body. It is red and does appear, but it's actually red the entire time. Thank you, public schools.
Yeah, we were lied to. So I love knowing that I'm not the only one. All right.
Oh, wait, hold on. Before you skip. To summarize everything up, Eddie Guerrero, a legend in the business.
So does he deserve to be called a legend?
He absolutely does deserve to be called a legend because as we talked about, we have a man who suffered multiple personal struggles in his life that we didn't even get to talk about really, who was able to push through, adapt, overcome, alter, cut too short to see really the fruits of his labors and what his legacy would have become had he lived to this day or 10 years past the point of his death. But probably, as I said, not in the top 5,
No.
but definitely in the top 25 of greatest wrestlers of all time.
Yeah, if we had so you have you have the Mount Rushmore. If we had like a smaller Las Vegas Mount Rushmore with like cruiserweights in it,
Yeah.
he'd be in that one.
But a transcendent talent, rest in peace, Mr. Eddie Guerrero.
All right. I can never fully escape him. I can never escape him fully. Malachi Black on former WWE rival, possibly joining House of Black. Who is this? Who is this member? Well, of course. Could only be
Buddy.
But here's
Good
the
old
thing.
Buddy.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Buddy Murphy actually just showed up in New Japan and won.
Yes, he did. By the way, everybody on there, feel free to post your favorite Eddie Guerrero moments or matches. We will discuss them at some point.
The matches between Buddy Murphy and Aleister Black in WWE were some of the best.
Yes.
But
we knew it wasn't going to be Big E, even though they had booked Malachi Aleister Black to fight Big E at SummerSlam, and then they forgot to renew his contract.
So that was... But that brings up another question. So, there's going to be a House of Black in AEW.
They are long-form branding House of Black.
Because we have discussed that AEW does an amazing job of long-form storytelling. They keep bringing you back to the story. They do a good job.
So far, they have not forgotten where they're at. They might have forgotten the plot, but they haven't forgotten the characters like Vince has.
Right. And sometimes the plot takes a detour, but sometimes stories take detours and you come back around. So, House of Black is... So now the question becomes, does Bray Wyatt become a member of House of Black, or does he still become a New Order, or does he start his own evil faction?
I don't think Bray's coming back to wrestling.
I mean, he's doing a movie right now.
He's doing a horror movie, which, honestly suits him. I agree with Cornette. If he wants to do movie magic BS in the ring, then he needs to go do movies, which apparently he heard and decided, you know what, that's not a bad idea.
And he's doing it with the same guy who created his mask and created the Joker mask for the comic book. Anyway.
Yes. The thing with that is that I don't know if Aleister, Malachi, Tommy, whatever his actual Finnish Dutch name is. I apologize, I'm forgetting where your country of origin is from. I think he's Dutch, isn't he? He's Dutch.
I thought he was from Amsterdam.
Is that Finnish? Where's Amsterdam? Sweden? No.
Amsterdamish.
Amsterdamish. God, Amsterdamish.
All right,
so I don't know if he needs a faction.
I don't
also, AEW has too many dang factions as it is right now.
They do have a lot.
And they wanted another faction to war. Oh, he's from the Netherlands. Okay, so they wanted another faction to come in to war with their existing faction, so they brought in a martial arts academy to go to war with one of their own factions. So they outsourced another faction. I don't think we need another faction. I think he just needs to talk about this ominous House of Black, and everyone's joining the House of Black, and everybody's going to come in, and who will my disciples in the House of Black be? And it's nobody.
Well, because originally the House of Black was just us, the audience.
Yeah. You are now entered the House of Black. Like, that's the thing. I think if they give him an actual stable of disciples, it's going to dilute Aleister's character, and I think it's also going to create the wrestling issue of either well, I thought it would be this guy, or, of course it's this guy.
Right.
And then it's going to devolve into, well, who's going to be the guy who turns?
Right.
Oh, look, Aleister's mistreating whoever. Well, clearly he's going to turn on him, or this guy's going to turn babyface. When's that going to happen? And then, unfortunately, because we are fickle fans, we don't appreciate that 6 months down the line, we get a seed. And then 6 months down the line, we get a tease. And then 6 months down the line, we get a hint.
We've been waiting. Remember, we've been waiting 2 years to this point, 2 years for Wardlow to turn on MJF.
Yeah.
And he hasn't done it yet.
And we get very much, I mean, not we,
right?
But the general masses, the general we, get like, oh, I'm so sick of this. I don't want to see this match again. Why hasn't he turned? Why hasn't this happened? You know, because the television audience is no longer catered to long form story, which is why, you know, technically wrestling isn't a form reality television, and nobody wants to watch reality play out for 9 years.
Right. There has to be a middle ground. We don't need to see the same match 15 times in 3 weeks. WWE.
Yes.
And not every story has to last 2.5 years.
Yes, but with that, I think if they give him a faction, it's just going to dilute the Malachi Black character.
I agree. I think that when Buddy Murphy, I can't remember his new name, when he does eventually make his way into AEW.
Isn't it just Murphy?
Might be. Or Buddy Rogers, or anyway.
No, Buddy Rogers is dead. Oh God, is Buddy Rogers dead? Did I just kill him? No, Buddy Rogers is dead. He's been dead for a long time.
Anyway, this
original.
should be an opponent, not a member of.
Yes, and if anything, they could easily tease this as
they have history.
Buddy, they have. Oh, I would even say go so far as to him be like, "This is my anointed. This is the man I could not escape. This is the first true member who will step out of the House of Black Shadows, and he will present himself to you. And holy crap, he just beat the crap out of me and threw me in the face." And Buddy Murphy gets on and be like, "Nope, I know you. I know what you're about, and I am not going to be a member of the House of Black, and I am going to beat some sense into you."
And he can even do that. I was a disciple once, and it didn't work out well for me.
Oh yeah, they could easily play for that. Because
he was a disciple of Seth Rollins, and it did not work out.
I'm not going to be a disciple again. I am going to be my own thing. And
Nor am I going to fall for a 17-year-old woman.
Neat. All right, what do we got next?
All right, so now we're gonna talk about some serious issues. I made the first hour serious, and then we're gonna have fun with just blast on WE fun.
Yes.
So I thought this was really interesting. So we were talking about 2 weeks ago. We're talking about the tournament, and we were like, "Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Jon Moxley or is it going to be Bryan Danielson?"
Yeah.
No, wait.
Bryan Danielson.
No.
What did we have a pick? We had picks, didn't we?
We did, and it was.
Is that the women's tournament? That's the
one.
women's tournament. All right. He has this, I promise.
Yeah.
Just wait. It'll be good. It'll be good. I promise. Because guess who was right? Because I remember my picks.
Okay, so I don't have the men's one.
So how do you...
I suck.
Sucks so much.
So,
is it under my papers? Hold on.
No. So the question was it going to be...
It is not.
Was it going to be Darby Allin or was it going to be Jon Moxley? Who was going to win that match?
Darby Allin was not in the tournament eliminator there.
I'm sorry. I get Darby and OJ mixed up sometimes. It's weird. I know. It's weird.
OC. Not OJ. OJ is the man who murdered his wife and her boyfriend and then tried to beat people up.
So the question was,
OC.
Was it going to be Moxley or Cassidy? Was it going to be Moxley?
Moxley? You are just flummoxed right now, all right?
We're going
to reset.
Take a drink.
All right. And go.
So the question was, who was going to face Bryan Danielson? Was it going to be Moxley or was it going to be Cassidy?
Yes.
And we were back and forth on who was going to do that. So I was appalled that somebody in jest said, oh, the only reason that Moxley went into rehab is because he didn't want a job to Cassidy. Which was just like...
I don't believe that Jon Moxley has an issue doing a job for anyone.
No. Let's just watch the last 6 months of his WWE career. Anyway, so Jon Moxley entered rehab. Just like, he's like, you know what? I just need to do it. And you know what? His wrestling on TV was very angry. We talked about it. He was just like, there's something wrong with this dude. Either it's his real character or he just... Anyway. Mm-hmm. So, Tony Khan broke the news, said, hey, Jon Moxley has given me permission to tell the world that he is in treatment. Mm-hmm. And then Renee put on that, this is 100% true. This is not a work. He is really in rehab. He's not injured. He needs help, and please respect us while we do this. So, and then the very next night, CM Punk,
the straight edge society, CM Punk,
said, they were chanting CM Punk. He's like, no, I don't want you to chant my name right now. This isn't a feel-good moment. This is real. This really happened. They acknowledged it on TV.
Yes, they did.
Vince would never, ever acknowledge someone going into treatment.
No.
He wouldn't even acknowledge that.
And if you're Randy Orton, you don't have to go into treatment. You just have to go off of television for a couple months.
Exactly. They didn't even acknowledge that their champion had COVID.
Well, now, yes, because Vince is a Republican, but I think
that's not fair.
I think the issue is that Vince. I don't know if Vince wants that on television.
Right.
Not because it's a thing, but I think Vince. I don't know. I don't know, because they don't have a problem acknowledging that they've helped other people, but they're not going to present a storyline
on TV
that has a real life effect and outside of an injury.
So I don't feel like this was a storyline. I feel like this was...
No, I don't think this was a storyline.
CM Punk was like,
I think it's a difference in the idea of the company and the
yes,
ideology, which
that's what I was getting
which
to.
I believe, I was going to say, I think you're getting to it, but Vince is a business. I think AEW, for what it is, sees it as, I don't want to say family, but...
Wrestling reality?
Not wrestling reality. I was going to say it's just a different cohesion.
Okay.
Vince is the machine. They are, natural products on, homemade or something like that. I don't know what I'm going with here, but what I'm saying is Vince is presenting the corporate narrative, and they are your local business, essentially.
So basically you have the big box store, and then you have the family business.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's how they want to be presented and have their view, is that real stuff happens to real people. Our wrestlers are real guys. That's one of Tony Khan's mandates of his top 5 things that are supposed to be the core values of AEW, is real people doing real things. This was something that they had to get out. They had to break it. I think Punk being the one to address the audience is probably good, because he could have cut this promo as a heel or a babyface, and it works great for him, because even though he said, I don't know John that personally.
Yeah.
We had
time frames.
We had our interactions because they were supposed to be with me, but Johnny Be Good here, I know him, but I don't know him as well as everyone thinks that I should know him. I don't think Punk knows anybody really as well as what he should, because Punk's a jackass. But I think him being the guy,
Phil at that point.
Yeah, Phil Brooks is an asshole. But I think him being the guy to make the announcement to the crowd, and what he said and how he did it, of, hey, send your support to John, chant Mox, don't chant Punk right now, because that's the guy who needs it, because he is straight edge. But he is a guy who's had alcohol abuse in his family. He is a guy who had problems with his father and had his own issues and things like that he's talked about how it's alienated him. So he could have cut this promo as a heel or a babyface and gotten the same thing out of it.
A couple weeks ago, it was great. It was like the 3rd week when he just gotten back, and he was in the crowd. Someone tried to hand him a beer, and he looked at like,
what are you doing? Yes.
So... it's amazing that this happened around the same exact time as... before I move on to the next... So what they ended up doing was Miro took his place.
Yes.
With another... I know you don't care for it, but Miro... Or maybe it's Dad that doesn't like it. I can't remember how you feel about it. But Miro's Forsaken Soul Son promos, I think, are just amazing. Sitting in the dark. I like them. But anyway, so...
They're just such...
So Miro...
It's two different things, because he's this legit Bulgarian brute ass kicker, and then he's like cutting bad, like, Oz prison monologues to the camera where he's like behind a fence or something, talking about he's God's favored champion or something.
Well, he's been forsaken. God has
forsaken him. Yes.
I think it's done really well. Anyway, so he ended up beating Cassidy, so Cassidy did the job. And then we're going to talk about who won between Miro and...
And that answers the question, though, of was Moxley supposed to go over Cassidy? Or as, Uncle Dave and Vince and them like to have, did plans change? Did plans go, we kind of want to see what Miro and Daniel Bryan would look like. Let's pivot.
I think based on the match that Miro and Bryan had, you would have been right. It would have been Moxley.
Okay.
They wanted, because we're going to talk. I've actually read the reports of what happened at Full Gear. I know you posted a couple of clips that you could find.
I did a little bit of it, yes.
And I saw a couple of clips that you didn't post and I couldn't post them because they weren't shareable.
Yeah.
We're going to go into Full Gear.
Yeah, we will.
After this.
So with that,
So also on the other side of it, so Moxley's best friend, also Eddie Kingston wrote this amazing essay. I can't talk.
Essay?
It's not essay.
Not essay, but
an essay. And it was amazing. It is a very long read. I posted it on the page earlier. It's really good reading.
I'm glad that you mentioned essay because there's something that I actually need to talk about in our final thoughts.
And I read this. It took me about 20 minutes to read. And I'm not going to lie, it almost made me a little emotional. There were some things in it that were very interesting. So I'm going to read one of the big parts of it here that was towards the middle. I opened this letter and it was from so first of all, Eddie Kingston, his character, if you want to believe what you're reading, and he says it's 100% no BS, he has just been a S-bag his whole life. He's always been, he's that guy that's always had to fight for everything he ever had. He has anger issues. He admits that he has anger issues. He's got, some of his brain is not wired right, and he's always angry. Well, actually, I know somebody like that. Anyway, so
being bipolar.
Yes, and he was in a very, very dark place, and he kind of he stopped answering phone calls. He was just drinking as much as he could, and he went to that dark place that a lot of people with mental illness go to. I said, and then he got a letter, and he goes, I was like, why do I have a handwritten letter? And then he realized...
Who does that nowadays?
Right, exactly. He goes, so I opened this letter...
Hi, hon!
I opened this letter. It was from my friend Alex Woodborough, a.k.a. Larry Sweeney. So, pause. Do you know who this wrestler is? Larry Sweeney?
The Sweeney sounds familiar.
Okay.
I'd have to see him to know if I recognize him.
Why don't you Google him real quick?
Okay.
Longtime indie wrestler, amazing dude. He wrote me a letter as a last resort. He said everyone was really worried about me, and he begged me to reach out. And I'll never forget this one line at the end. It said, I feel like I've lost my best friend. Please call me. That's what broke him up. A handwritten letter from a man who he didn't think could give two shits about him.
Also, I will unfortunately interject real quick while we're in the middle of this. This man is dead.
For some reason, that woke me up. I called Alex. I crawled out of my hole. I always felt like nobody ever cared about me. I felt like a failure, a loser, a bad friend. It's someone who'd been with me since a kid. If Alex hadn't sent me the letter, I don't think I'd be alive. I probably would have drank myself to death. He saved my life. The saddest part about this is those words that he said to me must have been coming from a very deep place within himself because he ended up taking his own life a few years later.
By hanging.
I think he knew the pain that I was going through because he was living the darkness.
That's a pretty... So, if you're looking at forms of suicide, this is always something that's a little bit interesting when we've talked about it, and again, a little bit off.
But not, because we're talking mental health.
So, this is the thing that a lot of people get misconstrued. The depression that sets in that leads to someone committing suicide is long form. The act itself is in the moment. So that is why typically you have a lot of suicides by handguns and other things like that, because it's the most available thing at that particular moment. They've reached the point, they've hit the moment, they've done it. There it is, there's the option, there's their way out. The process that leads up to that is usually a lot of long form, and there is a lot of signs that people will have for it. Hanging is one of those things where, is it something that's been going so far on? Because you have to commit to that idea.
Oh, yeah.
You really do. And sometimes there's been a lot of discussion about people with handguns of, was it intentional, or did they have that moment where they said, this is where I'm going to do it, but their finger wasn't ready, but it was because they didn't have the safety, or they didn't have the trigger held right, or something like that, and they never got a chance to come back from it. There's always been a discussion about that, especially with handguns. Hanging is a very intentional act.
probably the most intentional act.
I would honestly say next to probably, going down the road against the risks or drowning. Drowning is one of those things where it's really a commitment into it, where you choose to walk out past your threshold point. Okay, that's a very tragic thing to have happen, and it's unfortunate that Kingston's friend's death, really helped wake him up, knowing that he was on a very fast downslide. As he said, it was sometime after the letter, sometime after his decision to change, then to find out what had happened with his friend. You have a process that he's going through on it, but it's very unfortunate when you have to be left with that question of, why was I on this road and not realize that someone else was hurting as much, or if not more, than I was?
Another really cool part at the end of this, that was towards the end, and he says, he tells his brother that, I think I'm done with wrestling. I'm just never going to make it. This is it. And then his brother goes, oh, all right, well, guess I'm not going to sure what to tell your nephew. He's like, what the F are you talking about? Oh, I mean, I didn't think I'd ever have to tell your nephew that you were a quitter. Because he's a punk, and he doesn't want to be punked out.
Yeah.
He then, when he went and showed up at AEW for the first show, he went there for the money. Mm-hmm. He was like, there's no future for me. I'm going to do this. I need to pay my rent. Yeah. I got to pay my rent. So I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do this thing. And Cody's like, I want you to just blast me on the microphone. He's like, what? This is Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is telling me, the owner of this company, essentially.
Yeah.
Part owner. He's like, you want me to just eviscerate you on the microphone? He's like, yeah. Do it. What do you want me to say? Whatever comes to your mind. Just tell me how bad I suck. And then we're going to have a match. And he's like, okay, whatever I got to do for these dollars.
Yeah.
Whatever you, all right, sure. I'll be an asshole to you. And he did it. And he came back there, and people were like clapping him, and he's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I just want to go catch my check. And then he gets a phone call like 2 days later, and Cody's like, well, I have a contract. You ready to sign? And he was like, I'm not the guy that's supposed to make it. I'm the punk. Yeah. So it was a really, really good letter, and it was,
and that's
and it's kind of like you kind of parallels Eddie Guerrero, a guy who is making a success out of. I've never really liked the Mad King. I've never really cared for the character, but having read this and knowing that it's really not so much character as him,
yeah,
I've grown a better respect for it and understanding of who he is.
We've talked about Eddie in the past on the show, and if you go back to about this time a year ago when we first started firing off, and as I said, I believe my exact quote was, I see Tommy Dreamer in him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's as talented in the ring as Tommy Dreamer.
Right.
But everything he says, I believe, because I think he's talking about stuff that's real for him. Kind of interesting, prophetic in a way, how we talk about this, considering the essay that he penned.
Right.
But as I said, I didn't like the certain aspects of the character performance. But I was really dialed into his ability to translate things that are real and make things personal. And when they did the best friend thing with Mox, I was like, oh my God, this is just really annoying. And it's just so meta for what they're trying to do. But when Kingston speaks...
Not to be confused with the new name of Facebook.
That they're not going to get because apparently another tech company already owns it. And they're like, we will sell it to you for $400 trillion. But the thing, like I said, with Kingston is that he translates so well on an emotional level that you believe what he's saying. Unfortunately, he's not always handed the best plate to serve it, but he makes sure that you think that meal is the best damn meal you're ever going to eat.
Yeah.
So and physically, as we talk about it, I apologize, but
no, that's fine.
In the last 4 months, I really think he's done a different workout regimen or something, because Kingston is not as State Puff Marshmallowy man as he was, and he's looking a lot better. And I think that's because his position is being elevated because he is so relatably believable and real that his physical body has to start to match his verbal ability, because he's going to be put in there with some big, big names.
And he's our age.
And he's our age. And it just did happen where he got put in a match with a big name, so he had to deliver.
Right. So I think that I think it's really good, and I do throw your read it late when you get some time at work, or whatever, and then throw your comments on that thing.
Check this out. This is probably very good.
This was shared by the first place that I saw it from was shared by Mick Foley. That's where I took it. That's where I posted it from his page. And Mick Foley would know about.
And again, with that, as we talked about with Eddie, if you are someone who is suffering from depression, if you know someone or suspect they are suffering from depression, there is help out there. Please seek help, seek treatment, talk to somebody. It doesn't matter if you're talking to a professional, if you're just talking to someone next to you who might want to be reached out. You can always, send us a shout.
Don't reach out to him.
I'd probably reach out to him first, because I'm going to tell you to just, put your big girl panties on and suck it up. But that doesn't mean that I don't have issues too, and sometimes it's nice to talk to people, or if nothing else, have somebody acknowledge your issues and ask if you're doing okay, because you never know what response you might get. You might get, hey, I'm doing good, or you might get, you know what, I'm just really on the verge of walking off the bridge, man. So please seek help. Call one of the hotlines. Talk to somebody.
So our feed almost died because...
Oh, that would have been a great thing, that particular moment.
If
you're thinking about dying... All
right.
Okay.
So,
moving on. Are we getting to the happy at this point?
Now we're going to talk about Full Gear. This show...
I'm going to say happy. I'm going to say happy about this.
Uncle Dave did not rank these matches yet.
Oh, I'm sure that's because he's too busy wiping the jizz off of his chest.
But the shortest match of the night was 11 minutes.
Are we only going to talk about the pay-per-view for this?
Well, do you want to talk about some things leading up?
No. Well, okay. No, I think we hit the biggest one of the Miro replacement for it.
And then Moxley, they did a good job, as he kind of referenced. Kingston went off on CM Punk randomly.
Yeah, we saw that with the backstage. So that's a little bit of the lead up. Obviously, if you guys have been following along for a while, you know that Adam Page and Kenny Omega are going to be back in your main event. They've had their long form story. Maybe we'll just kind of reference
some things as we get
things that led up to this match as we go through it. Okay.
Also, we do not have an update for our AEW Female Eliminator because it went on pause. It starts back up after the pay-per-view. So none of those matches
happened at this point.
So we started off, MJF and Darby.
We had a dark match, if I remember correctly, of the females, which was not bad. The clips that I saw of it, I think it was definitely... People are coming in the building. We're about to go live kind of match. But I think it served its purpose.
And it also is 4 people that are in the female eliminator matches, so it's kind of getting some feeling out.
Yeah, I kind of see what's going to happen here, okay?
So you start off with MJF and Darby Allin.
Is MJF and his parents' Twitter war the best thing that's happening in wrestling right now?
I forgot to post that. Yes!
So MJF is either having a legitimate... personal war with his parents, or he is the hardest working heel in the entire wrestling industry.
I think it's both. MJF's mom wants to know how she can divorce herself from her son.
Yes. How can I divorce myself from my child?
But she also says, and I think it's a little bit of a work. I do think
it's totally a work.
Because she's like, I fed you with the silver spoon. It is all my fault. I did all these things. I should never have spoiled you. Oh. But
no, yes. Anyway, this is great. So leading into this, MJF has said that he wanted to mentally break Darby Allin because Darby Allin was one of those people that we talked about a few minutes ago who was kind of leading on the verge.
And they also said that they were the 4 pillars of AEW when they started were MJF, Jungle Boy, Sammy Guerrero, and Darby Allin, because they were the 4 indie darlings that nobody knew.
Nobody wanted, that became the fan favorite people.
And MJF has won the Diamond Dollar ring twice. Jungle Boy is that bridesmaid.
We'll get to Jungle Boy.
He's the ultimate bridesmaid.
Yes.
And then Darby Allin is a stuntman.
Yes, that was the big thing, is that Darby was going to show him he was more than just a stuntman.
He can't wrestle. All you do is fall on people. You hit people.
So let's talk about the first... This match was 22 minutes, by the way.
22:48.
Let's talk about the first 8.5 of this. Darby Allin can chain wrestle.
He can wrestle his...
He can wrestle his little 145-pound ass off. Oh, my God.
Everything that MJF put, he countered.
Yes. That was the thing that was really interesting with this, is that this is telling a story. Now, this is telling a beautiful story, even though it did seem a little bit forced that Darby and MJF are just going to pick each other out to go for at this point. And the whole mental break thing didn't really translate very well, I think, for what he was trying to do.
When you have a guy who never
think,
talks,
yeah,
you can't mentally break someone who barely talks.
And also, Darby's passable on the microphone when he has some comebacks, but you're not going to get more than like a sentence out of this guy, and it doesn't really work. We've talked about his cameo appearance where he told the 5-year-old to keep kicking ass. So the thing with this was, I think it would have been a little bit better if they would have just gone with MJF being like, you know what? I'm going to blow through you, and I'm going to knock this pillar down, I'm going to knock that pillar down, and I'm just going to be the only pillar left standing, and I'm just going to hold this whole damn thing up.
Which it may still go that way.
It's probably going to go that way, but this was really interesting. But yeah, the first 8.5 minutes of this match was Darby Allin showing, I am more than just my jackass stunt team here. I can actually do these things.
I couldn't believe it.
I choose to do it a bit differently. And the thing with him, though, is that unlike Moxley, who I have taken a massive shit on in the past. Sorry, John. Get well soon. But Darby uses these things in a manner that I feel makes sense.
Yes.
Where Moxley, I feel, uses these things because that's all he wants and can do at this point.
Right.
What I mean by that is that when Darby uses the stupid chair, or he uses the stunt thing where he falls or goes through something or gets tossed off of something or down the flight of stairs or something,
or decides to dart himself into the guardrail head first while driving through the ropes,
does those things that we talk about, it's because Darby is believable of, he is literally putting everything on the line to win a match.
I think a good example of this, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
But Moxley went from a wrestler in WWE. Listen. In WWE.
Yeah.
He came to AEW and he had that wrestling, and now he's trying to be the next Nick Gage.
No, I would say he wants to be Harley Race, because he even does Harley's celebratory cigarette after every match and his shot of Jack Daniels that he did. The problem is that if you're going to be Harley Race, you're going to live like Harley Race, and not very many people can live the way Harley Race did. Okay?
Which is why he's in rehab. But anyway, sorry.
Yes. But anyway, yes, I guess what I'm saying with that is that I feel like John just does this blood and guts thing because that's really just, he's just entertaining himself, and that's all he wants to do. Darby's intentional throwing of his lawn darting himself into things is because he is going to put you down, or he's going to kill himself putting you down.
Agreed.
And that's what happened in the last 10 minutes of this match.
Yes.
Which they built to of when Darby slung himself out of the ring into MJF, I thought he killed MJF. Because they just, boom, hit each other so hard.
Yeah.
And then I kind of watched it, and I was like, well, Maxwell had kind of turned a little bit, and Darby had kind of pivoted a certain way. I was like, no, that guy just knows what the hell he's doing.
Yeah.
And MJF is so good in the ring. And this is the other caveat I'll give to, and I know we're going long on this singleized match. You probably have to get your own stuff in. But MJF can wrestle when he doesn't get stuck in a program with just Jericho for a year.
Yes.
Because he's given something to do.
Or just beating the nobody.
Yes, or beating the nobody. And that's really what played out of this. And the most important part of this match that I'll sum up for you is MJF, apparently this is the big phrase that's going around wrestling right now. It's calling your shot. MJF called his shot before the match where he said, tell the people that I could beat this stuntman nobody with something as simple as a headlock takedown. So
but that's perfect for MJF's character.
It is. So the ending of the match sees the ref and And MJF gets a hold of the and gets Darby in the headlock takedown and goes, boom! And then puts him over and flips him over and takes him in the headlock takedown, pin 1, 2, 3. So technically, MJF did not lie. He just didn't tell the whole truth.
Right. And that's what
Great heel.
And he's going to be amazing with his promo this week.
I told you I'd do it. Headlock takedown. That's all it takes. 1, 2, 3. And now you have a place to come back to where Darby can say, you hit me with a ring.
What's interesting about MJF, and I didn't think about this till we were just talking about it, MJF only wrestles on pay-per-views. When he wrestles during the week, it's either a tag match where Wardlow does almost all of the work, or he wrestles in Fuego. He only wrestles big matches on pay-per-views.
I had not considered that. That's also very clever for him.
Right. All right, so...
Penta L0...
The Lucha Brothers versus FTR.
And Ray Phoenix versus FTR.
100 miles a minute.
Shoot.
So...
This match.
18 minutes, could have gone another 10.
I only saw about 6 of it, but once again, FTR proves why they are the hardest, best working tag team of the modern generation.
And you saw how they won, right?
And I saw how, well...
They put masks on, so Lucha Brothers tried to pin the wrong person.
Yes.
I don't know how you can't tell the two bodies apart physically.
Well, no, I thought they won. That wasn't the ending. They retained. Didn't they try to do that and it didn't work, and then they?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So they had this kind of wonky thing where they did the mask change and all this stuff because remember, FTR had come out a couple weeks back in costume and stuff like that, and nobody knew what was going on. But then they were doing the thing. So, but yeah, this match, what I saw of it was really good, and yeah. And the thing about the Lucha Brothers that I don't want to take away from them is, yes, they are the Lucha Bros, but they can do things with pretty much anybody.
No. And you have anytime these two teams wrestle, it's always amazing because it is the absolute contrast of styles.
Yes.
FTR has always been about fists and kicks, not flips.
Yes.
And Lucha Brothers are all about, I'm going to flip you all over the place. And FTR can adjust. They can take the flip and make it look like they're being flipped all over the place.
Yes. I didn't. Aside from, I want to say, there was a spot in here that I saw.
They paused
where they had that moment. But aside from that, unlike a couple matches ago where they had that really bad spot where everybody just got in position on the outside of the ring so that way Penta could do his flip, I didn't really see guys waiting around for something to happen.
Right.
We just saw things happening where guys happened to be when a guy landed in a certain area in this one. Yeah, I didn't really have an issue like I've had in the past with a couple of these guys.
They knew they were in a pay-per-view, so they stepped up what they needed to do.
Yes. Aside from the fact of, at this point, I would say botch the pay-per-view and make it look great on TV because you're getting more of a television audience on TV.
Right. So then the next match was the...
Bryan Danielson submitted Miro in 20 minutes.
This match...
This was good.
They beat the S out of each other.
Yes.
Daniel Bryan is like, I'm going to prove why I was the American Dragon in New Japan. Miro has never had a good match. This is the best match Miro's had in a very long time.
Agreed.
He proved he was the brute. He proved he was the breaker. And he got tapped out.
Yes. Well, he got tapped out with some getting there, a little bit of things getting there at the end. But I like what someone said in the comments, be like, we don't know if this is Bryan's best match in AEW so far, but it's definitely Miro's best match in AEW, and that made it all the better.
Right.
Because people love Miro. I don't get it, but people do.
And Bryan has got the complexion that 4 chops across his chest makes it look like...
He has Ilya Dragunov's skin, which is pasty white boy, because he's in the Pacific Northwest, where some of us are, where there's no sun in this cursed country.
And that he just Oh, I like
Yes.
good Robin Hood reference.
Yes.
And then he just
He welds beautifully, and if you have a guy who knows what he's doing and can throw those chops and do stuff, you're really only going to have a bruise for a day or two, and then it's going to go away.
And the sad thing is, I don't remember Brian welting very often in WWE for all the years he was there.
Aside from a couple of the matches, probably with Punk and AJ and some other stuff with Cesaro, I think that's really about it.
Yeah,
I don't think he really. But also, again, Brian was a little bit browner, and not because his wife was pooping on his face. Have you never seen the Tony Atlas shoot where he talks about the Bellas being in?
All right, Christian Cage. So Jurassic Express with Christian Cage versus the Super Elite.
All right, this is where the pay-per-view started to fall into a black hole because the Bucks got a buck, and apparently Adam Cole has to Adam Cole it now, which I don't want to sound like Jim Cornette, but they're making me dislike Adam Cole, and I never thought that would be possible.
Yes, so the match is everything you would expect it to be. Once again,
tag falls counts anywhere match.
This was a
clusterfuck, is what it was. It really was. And aside from, so there was a couple good spots where guys had good transitional stuff.
There's always good spots.
I mean, there really was. And with this though, they're making Luchasaurus look really good. Because honestly, I like Luchasaurus, and I don't think he's as bad as what a lot of people think he is. And I enjoy his character. I'm still ordering my I'm with Dinosaurs Luchasaurus shirt that won the fan poll here soon. But
we need some time off.
Well, it's not about time off. It's when my Jeep doesn't explode and I have to have part of the engine replaced. But this just, I like when guys can see that they're having fun, but I need it to be serious. And I've never enjoyed really the Bucks, honestly, and I've never been able to take them seriously.
I can't either.
And I just
no, that's enough said. Christian kept up with all these young guys.
Oh, Christian looked amazing in this. Jungle Boy did pretty good, as we talked about. He's the almost but never can be, or was. And then Luchasaurus, they're breaking out, and I don't know where he would actually go if they decided to break him out, because I don't think he works individually on his own. No. Adam Cole needs new best friends. Which, wait,
we may happen.
We're going to get there.
It might happen.
Cody Rhodes and Pac defeat El Dorado, El Idolo, El Patroni, I don't freaking get what anyone sees in you.
Andrade.
And House of Black.
So this was originally supposed to be a one-on-one. It's supposed to be a four-way dance.
Was this supposed to be a four-way dance?
It was originally.
All right. And I couldn't remember if it was supposed to be individual matches or if it was supposed to be a fatal.
Because Andrade's never... the best part of this match was Cody and Pac don't get along. Andrade and Black don't get along.
That really was the more interesting dynamic. I don't think I've seen a match where all four participants don't want to do stuff. The only problem with this is that we have three heels, basically. I don't care what they say about Andrade. He's a heel, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Malachi is meant to be a heel, even though he's getting a...
Cody's the only face.
Cody is the only face, and he's the one getting booed out of the building.
Because they want him to go heel. They're Roman Reignsing him.
Yes, but...
Because he went on TV 2 weeks ago and
said, I'm not going to turn heel.
I'm not going to turn heel.
Everybody's booing me because they expect me to turn heel. Well, I'm not going to turn heel. These are quotes. This is not me making shit up. He literally said, I'm not going to go heel.
He said it. So they went this 16 and a half minutes. Good
there
match.
Was one bad spot on the apron. Didn't really care for that one. The match overall was fine. Like I said, the dynamic was interesting. I just think that this could have been a match that got dumped off the pay-per-view, honestly.
I agree.
I really think this could have been dumped.
This could have been the Dynamite.
Yeah.
So, in the middle of all this, Jay Lethal comes out and says, I have signed with the AEW. Jay Lethal is all elite.
Because I am supposing that I assume since... Ring of Honor has ceased operations and will be readdressing what they're going to do in December, that they don't have non-compete clauses potentially in their stuff.
They've said they don't.
Okay.
So Ring of Honor said, we are closing down the shop. We are asking all of our wrestlers to please come back when we rebrand, but they are Please, they need to make a living.
Jay Lethal said, "Nah, brah, I'm good. I'm gonna go on network television."
He's done everything he can do in Ring of Honor.
He really has. I mean,
He's held every belt. He's been.
This is the thing with Jay.
He's been the standard bearer for Ring of Honor for years.
He's been there for several years. This is the thing with Jay that I think you touched on. And I know he was, don't get me wrong, but he's never going to be WWE World Champion. He's probably never going to be AEW World Champion. But he didn't really need for Impact. And Ring of Honor was going to be his pinnacle because it's the perfect fit for him. However, when I say that, I am extremely excited to see Jay Lethal on national television again.
Wrestling Sammy Guevara for the TNT title.
Yes. So that will be very, very interesting to watch in upcoming. I love Jay Lethal. I'm glad that he is there. The problem, I think, is realistically, though, how much gas is there in the tank for Jay Lethal at this point?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to have some ring rust, but he's very comfortable with his wrestlers in Ring of Honor. And
yeah.
Now, if he can have a Gresham level fight.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Unfortunately, Baker and Conte came next.
And
after all of this, they kind of got lost. I mean, I'm not going to say unfortunately because they're girls, but Taya Conte, she's beautiful, but she's not the greatest wrestler in the world. Well, she's not Britt Baker level.
She's coming along. She's supposed to be the, jiu-jitsu practitioner kind of style of different thing. I think the problem is that, and I love Britt, but
I would have put this match after the Super Elite and before Cody.
Yeah, this was a bad spot on the card for them. Even though I don't think they view this as such, this really did feel like the bathroom break match, and it's unfortunate that it happens to be a women's match, which was always in WWE, the bathroom break.
Right.
I do appreciate for AEW, though, they didn't do the WWE thing and make the women's event the co-main event, because it always seems kind of forced in a way, and I don't mean that to sound like what it is, but it does feel that way when it's just like, oh, here's your women's championship match in the main event.
And at 15 and a half minutes, this match was longer than every single Queen of the Ring tournament match combined.
Including the actual crowning achievement and probably the subsequent matches. They are still trying to catch up to how long this match is.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was just a bad spot in the card. The match was fine, in my opinion. I do think that these gals probably should have had a bit more feeling out process. And I think Britt is a little bit tainted because we've had 4 bloodbath matches in the last year with her.
Yeah,
so we really don't know if we're going to get the Britt Baker thumbtack and blade match or if we're going to get the Britt Baker wrestling match. And I'm worried that we're getting to the point of Jon Moxley where we're just expecting Britt Baker to just bleed all over the place.
And honestly, she does not need Rebel helping her.
Yeah.
Or the other girl.
The other chicks were kind of lost in the shuffle. Yeah.
So,
by the way, I did want to comment on something real quick. Sting looks amazing at 70 almost, or however old he is, when he came out and beat the guys up with the baseball bat in the chair. Honestly, I thought that was played out very well, where the guy had the chair behind his back, like he was coming down and was going to hit the guy, so Sting was able to hit the bat into the chair, into his back, and make that loud crack sound without actually killing the guy. But then he actually hit the guy in the stomach with the bat, which kind of made sense for it, because the guy's like, and then he gets hit in the stomach. I think Sting has probably got that bat transition down pretty well. But, I mean, physically, his body looked really good, even though he was wearing layers.
So I want to go back to a year ago, at about Full Gear, when Sting previewed.
Oh, and I said, why is the hell is this the point? What are you going to get out of Sting?
A year later.
A year later is what you got out of him, and you know what? He sold more merch than anybody who's debuted before CM Punk and Bryan Danielson did, but at the same time, he has been factored, entertaining. He hasn't been the whole show, and he's been important, and he's done stuff that's good, and he's gone back and forth of being the champion and being the albatross to winning and losing matches.
And he's had more screen time in the last year than Brock Lesnar's had in the last 5.
Agreed. Next, we had the match that we've kind of touched on already of CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston. This
So
unfortunately, like I said, the pay-per-view kind of started to fall apart in the booking. I really think Tony needs to address this a little bit, and the reason for that is we've had a couple different styles of matches, but the back half of this card was where I saw the problems, which is CM Punk and Eddie Kingston had a fight.
Yeah.
They didn't have a wrestling match. They had a fight. CM Punk got busted open. I don't know if it was hard weight or bladed, but he got his head split open and was bleeding all over the place. But as we get to the back half of this card, this is where I see the problems in booking.
So, there's a lot of articles going around right now that says that Tony Khan spent way too much money on CM Punk and CM Punk is not delivering what he should.
They are wrong.
So, up until this match, I was in agreement.
Really?
Him and Bobby Fish, that match was like...
I thought him and Bobby Fish was okay.
I was seeing an out-of-shape Phil Brooks trying to hold on to his legacy.
I didn't get that.
See, that's how I felt.
I did not get that.
So
I think one of the problems is this. Just
him and Matt Sydal was him arguably his worst match.
He's not. I don't know. The Hobbs match was
okay. Sorry, his second worst match.
Yeah,
Hobbs was. I actually erased that from my memory. That's how bad that match was.
The thing about that is this. Okay, I think unfortunately, I would say I'm trying to think of how to put this.
I don't think he was in the
shape. I think his shape is fine. I think he still has an amazing cardio. He can still get people up. You know, he's never been a physically dominating presence. He's not a guy. The problem with Phil is this. Phil is like me in a way. And I just don't mean like the tattooy kind of skinny guy or anything.
Because you are totally straight edge.
Yeah. I'm drinking a beer for it, yes. But what I'm getting with is that I can do things. Physically, I can do things. But I am not physically intimidating.
Right.
And I am capable of doing things, but unlike some guys, even like fat, big guys, I can't move guys around to where I want them. I can do things with people, and I can do physical things that you don't think I can do, but I am not a guy who's going to be able to do something without helping, especially in like a ring situation for it. And that's what I mean with Punk is that Punk is athletic. He's not a gifted athlete.
Okay.
I am athletic. I'm not a gifted athlete.
I'll give you that.
So Punk is not, I don't think he's ring rusted at that point. I'm just saying Punk has never been a guy who's been able to, you know what I mean?
I just feel like I'm getting at this point, I'm a little Punk overloaded. He has to have an interview every week. He has to be on commentary.
And that's the other thing is that we're kind of getting to, think about it like this. Maybe not even your wife, you know, but think of that first date. You're all kind of nervous. You're excited. You're kind of jittery, you know, am I going to get laid? You know, what's going on here, you know? And then you kind of get your big payoff and everything. You're like, all right, this is good. And then you go back for your second date and you're like, all right, second date, I got to impress, you know, they came back. This is already looking pretty good. And then the third date, and then then you have your moment. And then 6 months down the line, you're like, well, I guess we're just going to Netflix and chill tonight. And that's kind of, I think, where Punk is at.
But we're only 2 months into this and we're like,
that's the problem.
We're 2 months into this and it feels like we've been married for 10 years.
That is the problem that I agree with, is that because the other show is launched on the back of CM Punk, and we're going to get CM Punk every week for that, and we're not getting Punk really on the other show, except for a small, like, 2-minute recap on Dynamite, Punk is relegated to, I don't want to say the B show, but the other show. And I think that's a problem, is that Punk is being worn out on the other show so much.
He's been showing up on Dynamite. He wrestled on Dynamite.
He had his first Dynamite match, but what I'm saying is that
I get what you're saying.
He is the brand that is the other show right now, and that's maybe a little bit of what it's feeling like. Is it just feels like he's on the other show?
So he's Mr. Thunder.
Yeah, yeah, he is essentially the King of Thunder.
But 11-minute match. They beat each other up. CM Punk did, in fact, finally get the go to sleep done.
Hits the go to sleep, nothing. Hits the go to sleep, finally gets him. Punk and Daniel Bryan's winning streak has stayed intact. The thing that really also I want to talk about real quick, we'll blow through this. No, I was going to say, many, many years ago, CM Punk made this comment when him and Brian Danielson, whatever his freaking name is, he basically, they came to them and was like, so we want Punk and Brian all the time. And Punk said, that is the worst idea you could ever make. Me and Daniel should never touch except for maybe like once or twice a year. Maybe if you want to do us at WrestleMania or something, could make everybody happy. We should not wrestle every night on Monday Night Raw. Mm-hmm. And they had their Monday Night Raw match and everybody went ee. And he basically went back and him and Brian both said, we cannot be in the same program for 6 months because it's just going to kill everything, mm-hmm. right? And I think that's a problem is that right now everybody's going, well, when are Punk and Brian going to either A, touch, or B, lose, or if they touch, which one wins or loses? Mm-hmm. So I think there's a little bit of that blade hanging above the head of these guys.
The end of the match, Punk tried to shake his hand like, hey, man, great match.
And Eddie Kingston said, nope.
Eddie's going to Eddie.
Yep.
But it
worked for him.
It worked his character.
Yeah, worked for him.
So...
Again,
the next match, did we need 20 minutes for this
10-person street fight?
So,
and now
the only good part of I'm gonna cut you off. Jericho got to do a couple things with Dan Lambert that made the match worth it. It didn't. The match sucked. You knew that the Inner Circle was gonna end. The only good part of this entire match was we got to actually watch Guerrero and Ortiz and Ortiz and Santana do some actual wrestling again because it's been a while. This was not the match of the night. This was not the co-main event. Other than the people who were involved, the top fight wrestlers didn't have to do a whole lot, so they didn't look horrible. The match was...
Andre Arlovsky and Junior Dos Santos showed that they can have a wrestling match with wrestlers as long as there's other wrestlers in the match. I think that's the best way that I can say this. And keep this in mind for the MMA fans that are out there. I love Andre Arlovsky. I think he's one of the best underrated heavyweights of all time. Never really cared for Junior Dos Santos, perfectly honest, but I acknowledge his accomplishments for it, and I love the fact that, unfortunately, Brock Lesnar's best friend, Cain Velasquez, made him look like a little bitch in their double fights, even though Junior knocked him out in the first fight when Cain had a torn Achilles heel. That's what I can say about this match. The problem, and we have talked about this, other people have highlighted it, I think this is very honest. Is it just me, or is whenever Chris Jericho gets involved and does Chris Jericho stuff, everything just goes to shit?
Yeah.
And I don't understand that. And I joke about him looking like the canned ham, but he's Chris Jericho. Why is Jericho is
because borderline? He fired his
Jericho is both of the Bucks in one body. Where he just has to do his thing. It doesn't matter what's going on in the rest of the match, in the rest of the story, in the rest of the goddamn company. Chris Jericho has to do Chris Jericho stuff. And everybody, when he does his thing, you just go, well, there's Jericho for you.
Jericho should just stick to promos and leading the Inner Circle.
And not be on the microphone on commentary either. Because Chris Jericho has always had a high-pitched, whiny, bitch Canadian voice that is so annoying.
And he roots for the heel, then he roots for the face. And
he's Corey Graves on the microphone, but louder.
So, main event.
Main event. Here we go.
A year and a half in the making.
Was there any doubt that the guy who won was not going to be the guy who won? And here's a question for you. I did not think Paige was winning. I thought you called Paige when we talked about this. I think we both called Paige. I know I called Paige, I want to say.
Maybe I did.
The thing about this is that we have to talk about watershed moments about wrestling. And this is an interesting match because Paige has done his thing. He's come back. He's had everything lined up against him. Cowboy Justice is going to do some cowboy shit, right? This is the thing. Adam Page, I think, had to win this match.
Oh, he had
because if we would have got another screw finish with Don Callis and the Bucks and Omega cheat to win, or just Omega beats him. If Omega beat him clean, it killed Adam Page.
Oh, absolutely.
If they did another screw finish, it kills the pay-per-view.
It also makes it brings Omega into Triple H mode.
Yes, and
which we'll talk about here very shortly.
And if Adam Page had not won this match, they probably would have torn the building apart.
This is true too.
I really think that. So unfortunately, they booked themselves into a main event. You knew what was going to happen. But sometimes that's not the worst thing in the world. But knowing the ending of something that you want to see, that's the point I'm getting to. You wanted to see Adam Page win.
And did he kick out of a one-winged angel? No, because it never happened.
But what did he do? He put Kenny Omega down with the one-winged angel, and then tried again, and then
he reversed it. Every time he went up for the one, he reversed it. So Kenny's one-winged angel is still protected. It is still the most dominant AEW wrestling move that no single wrestler has ever kicked out of.
Athletically, when we talk about this, as we previously went back to the CM Punk match, both these guys are incredibly athletically talented, and you knew their shit was going to look crisp and good. Again, like Cornette, and we've talked about over the last year, I really feel Omega got exposed to what Jim Cornette saw him as 3 years ago, where his facials are really over-exaggerated, and he does prance for the V-trigger a little bit.
He's like Shawn Michaels.
Yes, he's so good athletically that he oversells. Unfortunately, he doesn't know when to dial it back, it seems, and I think he should have dialed it back a lot in this one.
So we're going to talk about the Bucks moment?
So we'll skip to the end because there's really no point in going over how good the match itself was. Athletically, go watch it. Go watch the clips online if you don't believe me. Both these guys' stuff looks very, very tight and crisp. I don't like a little bit of the table thing because it just seems like Omega always has to have some kind of panache in the background, be it a table, a chair, a pipe, or whatever. Or here come the Young Cucks down the ring. And what happens?
Yep.
We're going to see what happens.
We're not going to involve ourselves. And Omega's like, what's going on? And Paige is like, what's going on? They're like,
you know what?
We want to see.
We want to see who actually is the better guy at this point because we need to know for ourselves because we were all friends. Right. So let's figure it out. And again, reference what I said earlier, Adam Cole needs new friends. What did I say? What did I say a couple months back? And I know we're a bit long form, so we'll chew through this quick. Didn't I say about Adam Cole that wouldn't it be great? You couldn't have Adam Cole come in and confront Omega and be the ultimate babyface. He needed to be the heel because Adam Page was in the wings, and we knew that, right?
Right.
And clearly, sometimes like with Sting or something where it's like, you promise the guy the title, you got to give him the title once he's ready to get the title, right?
Right.
There you go, right? But I said, wouldn't it be great if slowly Omega loses the title? Because we thought with Christian and all the other multi-titles he had, he slowly starts losing the titles. And then this starts happening, and this starts happening. So the only way to really get Omega face is to have somebody new come in and usurp Omega out of the ultimate position. And who better than Adam Cole, baby?
Yep.
I don't want to say that that's what's happening or be like, oh, I called that shit. But it's more of like, I like again, like with the ending of this match, sometimes it's nice to know the ending and still be happy about it because what you wanted to happen, happened. And if that happens, I will be happy with it, not be like, F that, I called it, because I want to see Adam Cole be the ultimate jackass.
We wanted to see Daniel Bryan beat Triple H. We wanted to see Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero win their respective matches at WrestleMania.
Sometimes it's nice to have the things you want in life. Go watch Full Gear.
It was a great pay-per-view.
It was a great pay-per-view. It does dip a little bit in some sections, but overall, I give this 100% pass.
All right, so we're going to skip the steroid trial for time. We can talk about that next week or later.
So, yeah, I mean,
we're just going to skip it.
We're just going to skip it.
We're just going to skip it. We're just going to skip it. All right.
Apparently, we really enjoyed Full Gear.
Yeah.
And I didn't even get to see all of it.
In this year alone, they have fired 73 wrestlers, 1 ref, and 2 commentators.
Well, 1 ref was a racist.
It does not matter.
Yes, it does, I think.
No.
It does in the sense of a company being like, nah, brah.
But my point is...
What I'm saying is that there are more people deserving of jobs who have gotten fired, and it took them a year to fire the racist.
Okay.
And the sexual assaultist, racist, homophobe.
Got it. And the person who likes to hurt people. But my point is, that's a company.
Yes.
You have 2 commentators, a referee, and 73 wrestlers. That's AEW.
Oh, but don't forget, they fired their head of marketing. They fired their creative director. They fired their talent management source.
And you've got Mickey James and Ric Flair's legends that can,
do what they do.
They fired 75 people
But
that were
please,
on screen.
keep in mind, record-setting profits, record-setting numbers, record-building promotion of things we are doing. We have signed more deals than we had in the past. Our deal with Peacock and Fox and FS1 and all this other stuff, record-setting profits.
Some of these people have held the title belt.
Some of these people held the belt a week before they were fired. Karrion fucking Kross! They fired Karrion Kross and Keith Lee.
Alright, so.
Karrion Kross and Keith Lee.
So.
Your 2 potential world heavyweight champions on either brand who could have been, but Gladiator Piss Boy, Karrion Kross, and Keith Bearcat because he's Black Lee, they lose their jobs.
Well, I mean, for that you could go Braun Strowman.
Don't care about Braun.
Okay.
Don't care about Braun.
All right.
It's nothing against Braun, but what I'm saying is Braun's time had failed to his point.
So how about
Malachi Black, who just became hot shit on the other company. You re-debut him looking like a member of Metalocalypse who kicks Big E in the head, and then you fire him and go, oh crap, we forgot about your no-compete clause because your NXT contract.
How about Taya Valkyrie that they did this with?
Taya Valkyrie. We signed Frankie Monet. We had to change your stuff. We put you in a position to do the same stuff that you were doing, but wouldn't let you be Taya Valkyrie. We wanted you to be Frankie Monet. And then we put you in a position where we destroy you, we crush you, we beat you into pace, and then we fire you, but we're keeping your husband Johnny Drip Drip because he's our boy Mrs. Best Friend.
But who's finally gonna be able to be on TV because, he's off of Dancing with the Stars, so he's no longer.
Thank God!
So he's no longer going to sit in the back doing Zen.
I was so worried that Miz was not going to come back and do
Mercedes Martinez.
Mercedes Martinez. Sorry, you got kicked in the head by Xia Li. You're gone. The only person that I have not mentioned for, I don't want to say politically correctness of it, that needed to be fired was that untalented heifer right there, Nia Jax.
Okay.
Because they hired their other family members, they decided, you know what, Dwayne, we've done enough favors for you. We got to get rid of some favors. So we're going to fire this fat, untalented person, and we're going to hire more of your cousins, and we're going to stick them in NXT.
The other person who absolutely should have been fired, obviously, is the Dream. All right.
Oh, yes, I forgot about the child molester Dream.
So, this is an interesting theory.
The funny, yes, okay.
We're
is this Alexa Bliss?
No.
Okay.
This is an interesting theory.
Oh, by the way, they fired B-Fab, who just debuted. Very pretty female, very unique female, the female counterpart to Hit Row, and you fire her because we go, you know what, Hit Row's just over without her.
Which is not true. She was the mouthpiece
of the
group.
Just don't make her wrestle! Because she wasn't a good wrestler.
But I called it.
You
They
did.
did the same thing to Sanity.
You did.
They
You
did
did.
the same thing to
You
Sanity.
absolutely called.
Because they didn't bring her up.
Oh, by the way, Harry Smith, who we just hired back, you're gone. Eva Marie, who we just brought back, you're gone. Why? Because you did what we told you to do, and it sucked, and we didn't. Apparently, Brock Lesnar heard she wanted to manage him, was like, I don't think Rena's going to like that. Let's go ahead and get rid of that.
All right, so here's a theory that I want to read to you.
Okay.
I wonder if Triple H feels like watching a roster of talent he spent the last 3 to 4 years curating and shaping being binned off slowly. The NXT brand he took great pride in building being dismantled piece by piece. We'll probably never know, but I can imagine it's a sad feeling. So, is this payback for what he did when he was the monster heel, when he just buried everyone?
You mean, is this karma?
Yeah.
I don't...
Or
okay.
Is it a lack of confidence by Vince McMahon? Or is it a lack of backbone for not sticking up for his brand to Vince McMahon?
Well, he did. He stuck up for his brand so much he had a heart attack. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Paul. I mean, I know it's not as big as what it sounds, but I don't care who you are. Especially someone, and I'm not saying this in a male perspective, but because I'm a male, I'm going to. As a father, to have your ticker go out to the point you're in the emergency room, you kind of start to think about shit, I imagine. You go, you know what? I don't need to be stressing myself out and overworking myself so much because I might die because, unfortunately, my heart might just stop working because of all the steroids I injected into my forehead.
See Eddie Guerrero.
Yes. The other thing about that, too, is that just on that, he has to realize...
I didn't think about this. This is an interesting side.
I think Hunter has to realize, until the old man's dead, you can do so much, and he will give you so much rope to hang yourself with, but at the end of the day, whatever gets past him for so long, Vince will eventually turn the all-seeing eye of Sauron on that ass and go, you! And there's nothing you can do about it. Even a publicly traded company, Vince still owns the majority in the McMahon family. So no matter what anybody does, unless Tony's daddy goes and buys Vince out, which apparently the head director marketing guy said that they would be open to talking about at some point, and I think that particular con, not related to the Tony cons, that con is the problem with this company. Because that guy sees dollar signs, and he only sees as much dollar signs as he can make. So it's very easy for them to go to Vince and say, we gave Hunter a bunch of money to do NXT and to cultivate talent. We gave Hunter a bunch of money to go overseas to Japan and overseas to India and overseas to wherever and wherever to do these things, overseas UK. And they're getting beat by the new kids on the block each week. I think we need to go take a look at this and figure out what we can do. We need to go ahead and just cut some of that out. And Vince, being a dollar-minded individual, is going, business, you're right.
The business, not the family.
Hey, Hunter, this is nothing against you personally, son. I love you to death. But you know what? We got to look at numbers. And Nick Khan over here is saying these numbers are looking like this. We got to do something.
And Vince, so then Triple H is like, baby, I'm coming to see you. Yeah. And then so he's like, Vince is like, so Vince goes, well, I guess Triple H isn't around anymore.
Yeah,
let's Johnny Laryngitis, come over here
and just screw this up like you have everything else.
What's up, Johnny?
A different Johnny. Apparently, John Laurinaitis just tuned in.
Yes. No. Okay. My boy Johnny Castro. We used to watch wrestling back in the day all the time. So I completely forgot. Honestly, I did. Yeah. I completely forgot that Triple H has not been around backstage because he's been, working on his ticker. That makes sense. So I actually read today, and it's not in here in the notes, that they're actually dropping the takeover from any of the pay-per-views.
What they said is that they will no longer be NXT takeovers except for when they run co-events like the WrestleMania takeover. The takeover banner might come back.
Right.
But
it doesn't. So,
okay.
So we've talked about the Triple H aspect of it. And I thank you, because that's why we do this show, is because we play off each other and we both sometimes remember things that the other one didn't. All right, so Keith Lee.
I posted this.
WWE, wear a singlet. All right. Work some dark matches. Sure. God, you suck. Go back and relearn how to wrestle. Okay. Now I want you to start wearing shorts. Also, you're Bearcat Lee. Okay. Anything else? Yeah. Fuck you. You're fired.
Keith Lee says that he had to pay his own medical bills. WWE says
that's not true.
I think at this point, probably true that Keith Lee paid his own medical bills, or at least was making the statement of, I made enough money to pay my own medical bills. Maybe, and the funny thing about that is how fast they fired back, because that could be a very open-ended statement, like to say, there's a lot of people who like to say things like, well, I bought my own car. Be like, yeah, but your dad co-signed for you.
Right.
They're like, yeah, you bought it, but your dad co-signed. And I wonder if it was one of those statements of Keith Lee saying, I paid my own medical bills being a professional wrestler, not saying, WWE paid me, so I paid my bills. And the WWE was like, we paid everything.
Right. And this is an example of which I'm really irritated that wrestling is becoming such clickbait. They take a little phrase out of something, out of a Twitter.
Like I said, the thing about that is how fast the WWE refuted the claim. It was less than, 24 hours?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe 24 hours, and they came back and said, no, that's not true. That's interesting for their position to take, is to say, we disagree with his statements.
All right.
Other people have come out and said, oh, by the way, your Kevin Dunn in the production truck has sexually harassed and assaulted women.
No.
We don't have any statement to make at this time about that, even though we clearly have video evidence that this has happened.
It's always with the sexual assault with you.
It's because they let it happen.
I know. All right,
and it shouldn't.
I agree. So finally, as far as the firing debate,
can we just yeah.
Here's Uncle Dave's thoughts.
Oh, okay. We do have. Let me do it. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer indicated that every wrestler in the WWE is underpaid because only about 8% of the WWE's total revenue is paid to the wrestlers.
Time out.
How does Dave have these numbers?
Record-setting profits.
Well, hold on. I think he mentions that. Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar are the only wrestlers making $5 million per year, and a couple of others make north of $3 million per year. Vince McMahon thinks that many of the wrestlers are overpaid. True statement, because he said it. After reiterating that the WWE specifically released 4 of the 18 wrestlers last week due to their unvaccinated status, Zarin,
his backstage.
Zarin adds that 2 others were already on the border of being fired, and their unvaccinated status is what pushed them over the line. See Nia Jaxoff. Some other wrestlers were released by choice because they wanted out of their WWE contracts.
See the Lucha Underground. See the Lucha
House Party.
So, there's 2 interesting parts here. So, it's a money issue.
Yes. Now,
but is it how can it be a money issue if it's only 8% of the income?
Well, here's the thing with this, is that Vince is going to do 2 things. He's never going to pay somebody what they're worth, and he's never going to give them creative control over their characters anymore. See Bret Hart Wrestling with Shadows. The thing about that is that this is... I'm trying to go to dollars and cents. And as I said, how does Dave know these numbers? Well, they are a publicly traded company. Unfortunately, they probably don't have contracts and other things like that involved for it. The thing is that office...
They also do investor calls.
The office is always going to make more than the boys.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all... Here's the thing, too. Because the boys are private contractors.
But
independent
contractors. Even though they're not.
Even though they are not. And that has been a big issue that we've had for a long time. And we will be doing a future story that we're trying to compile research on about the WWE stock scam and what that actually means as a publicly traded company to employ people this way.
And there's actually...
And to pay people this way.
There are political figures that are trying to...
They are in the middle of a massive lawsuit on some of these that are being
started. It's getting started.
Including federal. Because they overinflated their stock prices and lied to their investors.
Sorry. I was still talking about the independent contract.
Oh, yeah, that's a big thing. Mr. Yang Gang is going to be coming for that ass, apparently. Here's the thing with this, though. What is the value of a wrestler in a multi-million-dollar company that has outstretched their product and chosen to cut those entities free, including NXT UK, which is their best show on television.
That nobody watches because it's hidden on the Peacock channel.
Because it's hidden on the Peacock. And it's in the UK and it airs at a weird time when it goes live. But to have those, what is the value of a wrestler? Especially, what is the determined value that Vince McMahon has in his mind off of said wrestler? Because I can tell you, Brock Lesnar is not worth $12 million a year.
Nope.
Even though when Brock shows up, he's the most talked about thing. Brock does Brock stuff. Well, oh my God, what is Brock Lesnar going to do?
I don't
The
understand
thing about Brock that's always bugged me is he has always been the highest paid guy.
That does the least
amount of stuff. Because Brock has achieved the goal of, I just got to go hit the gym for a couple months and then I'm just back in ready to go because I'm Brock Lesnar.
I've never understood it.
But I look at Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, the face of the company, as they keep liking to say. You have a guy who has children. Not to say Brock doesn't. You got a guy who almost died 5 times from cancer. You got a guy who physically has transformed his body into one of the most expressive specimens that you have seen in a very long time, who could pick up Brock Lesnar and throw him like a child. And they're saying, well, he makes about $5 million a year. Does that sound right? When you put into context other things of what people are getting paid, especially, we're talking about $1 billion business.
Well, what was the Rock?
And an individual entity. Rock and Austin were probably making 5 or more.
Right, and that was 20 years ago.
Yeah. Because he got rid of Brett because Brett was going to make, what was it, $20 million over X amount of years and $1 million or $2 million a year for X amount of years for $20 million.
So this is what's happening culturally right now, and Vince McMahon is part of that cultural problem.
Well,
hold on.
I'm going to go with that. I'm not cutting off your thought, but you go ahead. I'm compiling.
Okay, so 20 years ago, minimum wage was $4. Now minimum wage is
trying to hit 15 at a federal level.
Trying to hit 15. And all that's happened is, again, this is not a political show, but there was a news story that just came out and goes, people making $15 an hour can't afford anything because of inflation. Well, what did you think was going to happen when you raised the minimum wage? Everything else is going to raise up with it. But
go ahead.
If you're paying someone at the top of your company $5 million 20 years ago, and you're still only paying them $5 million 20 years later, well, Tony's going to pay you $3 million if you're in the mid-card.
Yeah. So here's an interesting thing that I have about that. And I've had an issue with this, and I've had a discussion with it of...
You've also talked about how the females and the male...
Yeah, we've talked about the female and the males, and the fact that I think Becky Lynch is probably the only... Becky Lynch and maybe Charlotte are the only two that are probably making north of 1.5.
Oh, Charlotte is, because otherwise she would have laughed.
Yeah. This is the thing that I've always found interesting, especially when it comes to wage, and I'm going to try and keep my thoughts aligned with where we're at.
Okay.
Because I've always had this, and it's been instilled in me, and it probably wasn't you. Fast food's for losers. Go work at McDonald's. But yet the argument has always been, oh, you don't have a job? McDonald's is always hiring. A position and a price necessitates workers. What is McDonald's line? 900 billion people sold, or whatever the hell it is at this point that they've got? How often do you eat fast food a week? Not saying you personally, but I'm just saying in general. How often do you stop by McDonald's? You're going to tell me those people aren't underpaid for the crap that they have to deal with you throwing a cheeseburger in front of their face and to say, oh my God, you could have gone to college and got a real job. You can't figure out how to not put onions on my fucking burger? $15 for a job that you say everyone can go out and get, but you look down on for not getting? This is interesting that we're talking about this because I had this final thought in my head for things that I wanted to discuss. But as I say that, dollar to position, creates necessity. How many people are watching wrestling right now?
On a weekly basis, about $2.5 million people.
About 2.5 million people, okay. What does Vince have to pay somebody to warrant that viewership. Because not everybody can be a professional wrestler. Not everybody can be in the WWE, and not everybody can be the champion.
And NXT clearly proves that now.
And NXT does prove that. But the question is what is the dollar value of a wrestler who is your main talent? He is your commodity. He is your cow meat, in a sense. But that's the thing, is Vince puts him through a grinder. What is the value of a wrestler worth to a multi-billion-dollar almost company when he can just go, everybody wants to be here, everybody wants to be part of it, even if you want to go to AEW and say Vince sucks, blah, blah, blah. You get what I'm saying. Anybody who's a wrestling fan wants to work here. Every single person who's ever done an interview for the WWE Network, for the WWE DVDs, for whatever, even those who haven't, what is their one statement they always make about being a wrestler?
This was my childhood dream.
It's my childhood dream to main event WrestleMania. We've had 36 of them, right? Mm-hmm. Which means we've had 36 main events of WrestleMania. Which means if they're individual matches, we've only had like 70-some people actually main event WrestleMania. We'll say 120 people have ever main evented WrestleMania because of whatever.
Co-main events, tag teams.
There are people right now.
What's up, Mark?
Pedro Pascal is getting paid $600,000 per episode to do The Last of Us, I just read. Very excited for that. He probably got paid probably close to that for doing Mandalorian. What is the value of someone in a specialized art form that not everyone gets to do? Because Roman Reigns could go work at McDonald's.
Good. So the one point I was going to make on this is the people that were fired because of their unvaccinated status.
Oh yeah, we didn't even get to that.
I thought that was interesting because, as you mentioned earlier, Vince does have a Republican kind of thought process.
But he also doesn't.
He's a businessman, understands that if his wrestlers can't go to a certain state, like say California, and we all saw what happened with Aaron Rodgers.
Oops.
But I watched the Seahawks game this morning, and he said in an interview, "I stand by what I say," and at least he didn't.
Because when you fuck up, what's better? Double down. Discount double check.
Well, it's better than to go. I have more respect for somebody who messes up and then doubles down on it, as opposed to someone who's like tries to lie and get out of it.
Well, I'm not saying the lying and getting out of it where people are like, I appreciate people who say things like, hey, like a comedian, like Dave Chappelle. I'm not saying anything about that at all, whatever, but I'm saying the fact that he said what he said and said, yeah, I said what I said and I said what I said, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
That's
what I don't appreciate is when you say something stupid and you're caught in a situation of a medical risk to other people around you potentially and say, well, I lied, and then I said something stupid, but you know what? I'm just going to go with that because guess what? Aaron Rodgers is going to retire on a $60 million mansion.
All right, so we're never going to know why some of these people got fired, but we do know that AAA is absolutely interested in Scarlett, Carrion, Lucha Guys, and Tyra Valkyrie. The only real bad part of that is we don't get to watch AAA.
And they don't have Ring of Honor to go to. I guarantee you Karrion Kross is not going to go back to Impact after what happened there.
AAA wants him.
Yes. Can they pay him? Can they pay for him and Scarlett? We also don't get it, as you point out. But here's a question for you. Whenever Vince figures out whatever stick is stuck up his crawl about certain things, who comes back?
Brock.
No. Out of the 75 people who just got cut, who comes back in a year or 2 years or 3 years?
The person who's offered the biggest contract to somebody else.
So, I mean, they said they had personality and clashes with Keith Lee. They blamed Karrion for not getting over on himself, even though they killed him dead on arrival when they had Jeff Hardy beat him in 2 minutes.
Oh, and by the way, for anybody who watches our show and looks at Facebook, all of these fake Booker T quotes, stop believing them because none of them are true.
Yes. But the question I have is this. Would anybody want to go back after just being thrown away like this? Other than the fact of, well, it is an institution and the biggest show in town. Oh. I know there's a new show in town, and it's probably the bigger show in town. But again, my dream is main eventing WrestleMania. My dream is going and being a main event in WrestleMania, and I can't do shit.
Speaking of which, and we're going to segue into story time.
Are we going to? We're running a little long.
I know. Well, here's the thing. Neither one of us have really watched a whole lot of wrestling, and nothing's very interesting. In WWE and Raw and SmackDown, it's all about Survivor Series. We're going to do a Survivor Series discussion next week because Survivor Series will be happening while we're doing our show, so we can predict the matches that haven't happened yet. That will be SmackDown. Other than Becky Lynch and Charlotte, like, twittering each other, nothing in Raw and SmackDown.
Didn't I say that would probably kind of was a work because they're going to do the champion versus champion at Survivor Series between, which is clever and good if you think about working the smarts that Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair are having a bestie spat.
Impact.
If they actually have the match and she doesn't lose the title.
Impact, I honestly haven't got a chance to watch, and I know that you don't get to. We're going to talk about Impact next week. AEW, we
just went over.
All the storylines, and the storylines are going to start to continue and get fresh because it's all going to be about the female eliminator tournament.
And now it's all about the female eliminator tournament. But Daniel Bryan won the world champion eliminator tournament, which means we will get to see Daniel Bryan and Hangman Page, which should be awesome. We are also going to see what the fallout of, hey, why didn't you guys come help me keep my title?
Right. So there's
Adam Cole, baby.
There's a lot of interesting storylines happening in AEW. And then, of course, Miro forsaking me. Now, so NXT, real quick.
I could not talk about NXT quickly without this going another hour.
Right, understand. So I'm going to ask one quick question storyline-wise. Where's Samoa Joe and William Regal? They keep talking about him on air, William Regal.
Yeah, Samoa Joe was out absolutely no mention other than the fact that he medically had to drop the title for no reason that has been given whatsoever.
Other than he probably wanted nothing to do with this rainbow collusion.
Yes. I hate NXT at this point right now, and
that's all
we talked about it as the best show on there. This is the most, and you know, it's funny that we talk about mental health on this. This is the most bipolar show I've ever seen in my life. Like, it is more bipolar than TNA because TNA either sucked or it was good. 50% of what happened on NXT this week was really good. And the other 50% was so bad, I never wanted to watch another episode of it. I
haven't watched NXT in 2 weeks. So
I've watched it every week because I think that we're going to talk about it or have a show, and then we kind of keep bearing it because I think we're just so disillusioned with the product at this point. NXT 2.0 is a gigantic turd in the fucking punch bowl.
Next week, we're going to open with 2.0.
We're going to open with 2.0.
How much you want me to give 40 minutes?
Oh, my Lord. I need 40 years to just talk about how bad this is.
All right. And then finally, on SmackDown, why was the caveman hanging out on SmackDown?
Why was some of the best potential matchups in all of wrestling history taking place in the UK tour that was not filmed?
So
they had Walter and Cesaro and like other people in main event matches, and we didn't get to see it and won't. We won't get to see Cesaro and Walter.
So here's what's really going to make you mad.
We won't get to see Braun Breaker and Tommaso Ciampa with Cesaro and Walter.
So, check this out.
Yeah. Because they said that the man who looks like Homo erectus is the next main event WrestleMania wrestler.
Now,
sorry, Braun Breaker.
This guy has impressed me. And so here's two things. One,
his eyebrows on his forehead impress me.
So they had him stand around and do nothing. And then Sammy lost his spot on the Survivor Series team. And now they're like, who's going to take his place? Wonder who.
I expect to see you featured endeavored here shortly.
Here's the thing. He has a program with Roderick Strong right now that's been pretty good. Yeah. But, Roderick Strong's contract's up in a month.
Oh, no, Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah, that's what I meant, Kyle O'Reilly.
Kyle O'Reilly's contract is up in a month because they're going to let Kyle O'Reilly go to AEW. They might as well just say, AEW, these are the wares that we have on the shelf. What can we give you today?
Okay, here's my final thought.
Okay.
The reason that AEW works so well is they have, 75 wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't see every single wrestler wrestle every single week the same wrestler. They make it a point that they do not repeat matches except for when it needs to be repeated.
Okay.
That can be good and bad because sometimes the stories are disjointed, but the story always comes back around. NXT used to do that. You didn't always see if it was going to be Walter versus Cesaro, it wasn't Walter tag teaming with Cesaro against the bad guys, and then Walter and the other bad guy.
You mean the WWE formula of how can they coexist as a tag team when they have a championship match at the pay-per-view? Let's find out. Oh, they couldn't.
I guess the last storyline that we should touch on, and then we're gonna be done in 3 minents.
We're not, because I got my thing. Okay. Final thought, dude.
Okay, sorry.
It used to be called Mike's Final Thought. He's cutting me out of the own show.
So I thought it was brilliant. So on SmackDown, Roman Reigns said that I will either be crowned the king, or I will bend a knee.
I will bend the knee to King Woods. By the way, I want to ask this real quick. Why is it since King Booker, everyone who gets the crown for King of the Ring has to go insane? And Zelina Vega, who is, what is she, Honduran? Puerto Rican? I'm not sure, but why is she talking with a British accent like Madonna did when she married Guy Ritchie in the 2000s?
Oh, I don't know.
My subjects! My subjects! I am presenting Queen Zelina!
I haven't watched Raw 2 weeks ago.
And Xavier Woods, at least his comedy of the Gamerverse thing and the New Day of him doing that is at least passable, but why is it everyone goes insane when they win King of the Ring?
I don't know. Why did Xavier Woods look like he was going to beat Roman Reigns 3 different times during the match?
Because Roman has no one, because they chewed up Finn, they chewed up Cesaro, they chewed up Daniel Bryan, they chewed up Edge, they chewed up Seth Rollins and kicked him to the other show, which made no damn sense because Rollins said, I'm coming for you. We got some stuff to work out, but I got to go deal with this. And Roman was like, all right, I'm here when you want to bring it, so bring it. And Rollins brought it to the other show to not renew his feud with Edge, the TV draft pick.
So,
because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. That's why.
There's going to be a warning. I'm not even going to bother bleeping all these F-bombs. I'm just going to put a warning.
All right. Do you...
That is...
Is that your final...
Give me your final thought. You have 2 minutes.
All right. I have 2 minutes to get this out. Just kidding. So, much like an essay that we talked about a long time ago, I wrote an essay for a paper that I had to turn in. This is a bit of an expert from that paper. And yes, she misses a lot. Well, Alexa had to have stenitis surgery because I guess her sinuses were messed up.
She'll be back soon.
She'll probably be back and be back with a new character.
After the paper.
Since they did not do the thing that I am shocked that they didn't, which is put the title belt on Lily and have Lily transform into a full-fledged human being.
AKA.
So, it's funny. I wrote this years and years ago. But I posted this expert on Facebook 8 years ago on October 22nd, 2013.
It is, in fact, a 8-year ago Facebook memory.
Yeah, so from about a month ago is when this is from, okay? Bear with me. I'll read through it. It's only a little bit long. How far are you willing to go for your dream? I have always maintained that professional wrestlers are some of, if not the best professional athletes in the world. A professional wrestler works about 260 to 300 days out of the year. I wanted to give perspective on what that means to be a contracted professional wrestler. There are currently 32 teams, professional teams in the NFL. Again, this is a couple years ago. Forgive these numbers, okay? Each team can have up to 53 players on their team. Some have listed up to 80. There are many different reasons for this that I will not get into at this time. Second, third string, backup, quarterback, blah, 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 blah. 45 of which must be dressed and ready for play. That means that there are about 1,696 professional football players in the NFL alone. The WWE is the largest wrestling promotion in the world, and the current roster lists 65 males, 14 women. WWE currently has 33 men under developmental contracts as well as 7 women and about half of their main roster. A total of 119 people work for the company. TNA, which many consider to be the second in line to WWE as far as a wrestling promotion that has a current roster of 34 men and 6 women.
8 years ago.
Remember, this is 8 years ago. Also, listen to the wording I use at the end. This is a total of 159 professional wrestlers working for only 2 major companies that currently have a large television network deal. WWE produces 7 television shows, their main being Raw, SmackDown, Superstars, NXT, and Total Divas. The other serve as clips and highlights to those aforementioned shows. WWE also produces currently 12 pay-per-view shows per year. TNA produces 1 weekly show, Impact, with a new reduced schedule of 4 pay-per-view events that were formerly 12. WWE Raw pulls in about a 3.3 rating each week, TNA about a 1.1. They wish they had TNA numbers now. The biggest challenge to wrestling would be the UFC and mixed martial arts in general. The UFC has a bloated roster of 390 athletes working for them spread across 8 weight divisions, including the newly expanded women's division. Keep in mind they had just hired Ronda Rousey and just started doing the multi-level of women's divisions at this time. UFC 165, that's how far back we are, featuring light heavyweight championship bout between John Jones and Alexander Gustafsson, was one of the most anticipated events of the year. The attendance was 15,504 for a gate of $1.9 million. Their gate was almost $2 million. WWE held its pay-per-view Battlegrounds in October with a crowd of 11,700. TNA Bound for Glory was also held in October with an estimated crowd of 4,300.
Bound for Glory this year was 2,500.
There's an estimated 5,000 independent wrestlers working in the United States alone. The likelihood of them making it to a tryout of a major promotion is less than 10%. These numbers mean nothing to an aspiring wrestler, but it does prove one thing. To be a professional wrestler means that you are the elite. Again, prophetic in wording. If you ever find yourself in the middle of the ring, be it a high school gym or holding the WWE Championship above your head at Madison Square Garden at the main event WrestleMania, remember, you are the elite. So we talked about the value of what it means to be a professional wrestler. 8 years ago were those numbers. I can only imagine what they are now for what revenue is to what they're being surpassed as from mixed martial arts and the UFC in general to what the WWE makes as a publicly traded company. What is the value of a professional wrestler? It's more than you can ever know, Vince. That's my point. Roman Reigns deserves $20 million a year because he's the best damn worker in the business right now on the most interesting show on your flagship, and in my opinion, could potentially go down as one of the top 5 greatest of all times on a Mount Rushmore at some point because he's so damn good. Anchor. The people that you employ are worth more than you pay them. They're not overpaid. They're underutilized, unprovided for. They don't get health insurance, and they don't have your respect. They have ours. So for everybody out there watching who wants to be a professional wrestler, know that this is the business that you're getting into. It's going to be a lot of long hours. It's going to be a lot of travel, and you're probably going to go through a lot of alcohol. You're probably going to go through a divorce. You're probably going to think about eating a gun at some point in your life too. But everyone's dream is to main event WrestleMania. Live your dream, but get your money.
So, I'm guessing of these 73 wrestlers, there's about 50 of them that's still looking for a job. You got a couple $1 million you can pull together and start our own company?
I told Joey many years ago my pitch for what I had to actually start a local promotion in here, and I still have the building picked out that is still currently available where we could actually run this out of. The problem is that it would probably cost... I said it would cost about $350,000 to do a startup for it. Now it would probably cost about $550 or so to do it. But I do fully believe that I have an idea to actually run a successful local independent wrestling promotion with television. And
well, Defy's doing
you would have to be co-booker or something with me because you know that I would just go way too far off the deep end.
Well, Defy did have Kofi Kingston. Defy did have Moxley and Eddie Kingston here last month.
They also,
And GCW is going to be hopefully having a show soon.
yeah. That's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Perry, I hope that we got you closer to your doorstep and you stuck with us the entire time. Have a safe drive, my friend.
And sorry he was so angry at the end. He's got passion. It's not anger, it's passion.
Like I said,
It's not anger, it's passion.
I can't work for anything at this point in my life, but I can cut a promo.
All right, guys. See you next week. 5 o'clock. Early show.